Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto were to be raised by the jock part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. In a secret lab hidden somewhere near the city of Gotham. Now I will begin the experiment to see if I can pull allies from other dimensions to aid me, stated Brainiac, the psychopathic ancient computer from Krypton. Temporarily, anyway. He turned to his newly constructed interdimensional portal projection device only to find it missing. In its place was a handwritten note on pink paper. Brainiac walked over and picked it up, and began reading. It was in English, and said, "Dear Bolts for Brains, the toy you were working on seemed to be so shiny, I could blind a bat with it, so I took it. Some computer you are, unable to even detect Harley and me as we stole something from right under your nose. If you even call that thing a nose. Heh. Anyway, I figure I could find a more inventive way of using it. Your bestest friend in the whole universe, Mr. J." Enraged, Brainiac crumpled the paper in his hand. "There is no way that I'd be able to enter Gotham and steal it back without Batman and the rest of the Justice League noticing. And I'm not going to make another to have it stolen from me again. I'll just have to leave Earth and observe as the Joker blows it up." He then made preparations to leave. A week later, in one of the Joker's secret hideouts, even Batman doesn't know about it. "Harley?" "Yes, pardon?" "When I flip this switch, we have no idea what type of interdimensional demon we'll unleash on our world when I do so, now do we?" "Last I checked, we had no idea. Not like it ever stopped us before." "Yee hee 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 hee. I live of my job." And then he flipped the final switch. The device, which looked like a large ring reminiscent of Stargate SG-1, began to glow, and the empty space was filled with an unknown energy. It looked kind of like rippling water though. Then, images began to appear on the surface of the energy. Japanese writing was abundant, scenes of battles flew by, and the Joker and Harley even glimpsed some sort of multi-tailed fox, before the image became a facsimile of Mount Rushmore. Then, there was a flash of red light, and the portal bulged outward, dropped something, and the whole device shut down. Harley blinked. Joker blinked. They approached the object that was dropped. It appeared to be a bunch of baby blankets wrapped around something. Then it stirred. And began to cry. Harley picked it up, and began unwrapping it. It was a baby, with blonde hair and whisker-like marks on his cheeks. Curious, Joker approached. Then he saw something. A dog tag? He held it to where he could read it. It was in Japanese. It was a language that he was familiar with, if a bit rusty. It read, "Uzumaki Naruto, interesting." At this time, Harley finally got Naruto to stop crying, by singing to him. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word, Mama's gonna steal you a mockingbird, and if that bird won't sing, Mama's gonna deep fry that thing." Joker observed this for a moment, and then had an idea. Once Naruto was asleep, he spoke to Harley softly. "Har? I know how much you want to have a family, so we'll just have to raise this boy to be our son." Harley smiled, and Joker smiled back. Then he looked thoughtful for a moment. "Let's try to raise him without using Smilex. What should we name him?" "He has a name, Naruto." "What kind of name is that?" "Well, it's Japanese. And since it's written in katakana, his name means two things, whirlpool and fish cake." "A whirlpool of fish cakes?" she asked, stifling a laugh. "Ha ha 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 ha. Let's keep it." "Tee-hee. Yes, let's." Over a period of 6 years, the clown prince of crime and his bride raised Naruto to be very much like them. At no given time was both the Joker and Harley in Arkham at the same time. Batman noticed this pattern, but none of his guesses as to why were anywhere near the mark. Both Joker and Harley were astounded by Naruto's hyperactiveness, eagerness, and stamina. They also noticed that when he accidentally hurt himself, he healed very quickly. They also found that he was getting physically stronger as time passed on. By the time he turned 5, he could already bench 145 pounds. Naruto became skilled at mind games at such an early age. Naruto already knew how to set traps, and had the formula for Smilex memorized. As a family, they had all learned Japanese because Harley thought it was relevant. The Joker was proud of his son. Why, the last playmate they had captured for him actually survived for 6 months, before Harley accidentally killed her. Naruto was learning restraint. And they even learned that Naruto had a voice in his head. Naruto said that it was advising him to maim, kill, destroy, etc. "And how is this different from what we tell you?" was Harley's reply. "I was simply letting you know it was there, was Naruto's retort. Yesterday was Naruto's 6th birthday, and his present was his very own sawed-off shotgun which Naruto called a boomstick. Naruto had yet to name it, although he did ask if he was adopted. Joker simply said yes, but that doesn't make you any less our son. Naruto was happy with the answer. However, Joker was feeling a bit on the glum side today. His plans had just been foiled by Batsy for the umpteenth time. He was back at square one again. Then, he got an idea. When he presented it to Harley, she liked the idea. They began packing their bags. "Ka-san?" asked Naruto, when he noticed Harley packing some of her favorite weapons into a suitcase. "Are we going somewhere?" Harley looked up and smiled. "Yes, Naruto-kun. We are. We're going to the world where you came from, to have a fresh start." "What should I pack?" "All your clothing and your favorite weapons." "Okay, Ka-san." He ran off to do so. When he was coming back, he came across his clown of a father. "Daddy?" Yeah?" "If we leave, who's going to kill Mr. Batty?" "I already thought ahead. I left clues for him to find this hideout. When he gets here, he'll get a surprise. If that doesn't finish him, he'll drive himself mad looking for us. Either way, I win. Hee hee hee. Ya ha ha ha. A perfect prank." They entered one of the labs to find that Harley was warming up the portal projector. The clown prince of crime was carrying 4 large bags, whereas his son was carrying 6 bags and wearing an overstuffed backpack. Harley had 8 bags of her own sitting near the device. She was the most physically strong of the 3. Also, her 2 pet hyenas were sitting near the projector. As the mistress of jokes was performing the final checks, her partner in crime was setting up the final trap that the bat would witness if it worked. It would also prevent anyone from following them. When he finished, he and Naruto got into position, and the hyenas followed suit. Harley flipped the final switch, and ran over to grab her bags. Again, the liquid surface showed various scenes before finally settling on the Mount Rushmore wannabe. They quickly ran through the portal and were gone. The machine shut itself off again. Several hours later, Batman entered the complex. He found most of the rooms vacant of all life. Some of the labs had experiments that were in various stages of completion, as if the Joker and Harley had left in a hurry, or on a whim. He suspected that it was both. What surprised him was that in one room was a child's bed. When did he see Harley pregnant? He didn't. They must have been keeping a child as a prisoner for quite some time then. However, there was no clothing in any of the rooms, though there were dressers. Joker must be playing a new sort of sick joke on him then. Finally, Batman came across the lab with the interdimensional portal projector. When he walked through its only door, he set off a motion detector. Bars slammed down over the doorway. It was then that he saw a very large bomb labeled for Batty. With love, then he heard the Joker's voice. "Why, if it isn't the flying RAT? Don't worry, I can't actually see you, as this is a recording. Good luck finding me. If you survive, that is. Yee hee hee ha 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 ha. Have a nice day." At this time, Batman had cut an opening in the bars with a cordless, diamond-edged cutting tool large enough for him to get through. Then the bomb went off, destroying the lab and everything in it. The Sandaime was perturbed by these pale-faced lunatics who claimed to have adopted Naruto as their son. He was unnerved by their sudden appearance in the same room where the boy had disappeared almost 6 years ago. "Oh, come on, ya old coot," complained the man with sickly green hair in Japanese. "Let us become ninja for this place. We're great at laying traps and interrogating people. Plus we can make all sorts of poisons to lace your weapons with." The third Hokage glanced behind the clown to look at Kakashi, Ibiki, and Enko, who had all aided in capturing the Joker, Harley, and Naruto. Kakashi was reading his book, as always, but he was keeping a close watch on the Joker, to be sure that the man didn't try anything. Enko was standing behind Harley, and Harley was simply cleaning some sort of strange tool that resembled a crossbow, but had a metal cylinder where the bow part and the bolt should have been. Naruto was either drawing or writing something on a piece of paper, and Ibiki was watching him, but with a surprised expression on his face. Odd, Ibiki hardly ever showed emotion. "Fine," conceded Sarutobi, with a puff on his pipe. "But we'll have to set some ground rules. You can't kill anyone from the village unless they try to kill you or Naruto, you can't give any of our secrets away, and you will obey the orders you are given." "Sounds fair," replied Joker. "We'll need a plot of land to build our house though. And we'd like to take our son's surname as our family name." "Very well. Your family name shall be registered as Uzumaki. What are your given names?" "Joker." "Harley." The third Hokage began writing. This is a declaration. It says that Uzumaki Joker, Uzumaki Harley, and Uzumaki Naruto shall be given full residency status in Konoha. Joker and Harley shall have temporary chunin rank. Your actual ranks shall be determined later. It will also give you the supplies needed to build your house. I hope you don't mind living near the Forest of Death? He then saw all three of them grin. Harley's grin was freaky. Joker's was downright creepy. However, Naruto's was the worst. It seemed to be a combination of the infamous fox grin and his father's grin. It was all that the Sandaime could do to keep himself from running in fear. By the kami, what had he done? After the meeting, the Hokage had requested Ibiki's presence. What was the boy writing? Asked Sarutobi. An interrogator's flowchart, a kind of plan for the kinds of mind games one might play while questioning someone, was the interrogation expert's reply. The plan he was writing was primitive, but extremely effective. I was impressed. Interesting. I want you and Joker to work together, both for you to see if he is as good as he says and so that you can keep an eye on him. I was hoping you might say that. Back at the Batcave, what? You seriously thought a measly explosion would kill him? Batman didn't know what to do. He had interrogated many of the Joker's henchmen, but none of them knew where he was, other than he was last seen at that laboratory complex that had blown up in Batman's face. He had already notified the Justice League that the Joker had disappeared without a trace. Wait, wasn't there some sort of door-like structure? Yes, that was what the bomb was strapped to. It was vaguely familiar. Wait a minute. It was Kryptonian in design, wasn't it? Yes, it was. He had to notify Superman at once. Ibiki was impressed. Joker was more sadistic than he was, and was extremely efficient at getting information from prisoners. Of course, Joker tended to kill some of the prisoners, but those deaths were so excruciating and weird that the other prisoners would talk very freely, if to avoid the same fate. At Joker's request, Ibiki had referred to him during the interrogation simply as Mr. J, and Joker's reputation as an extremely effective interrogator quickly spread throughout the Fire Country. The house that the Uzumakis had built was fairly large, but Ibiki had been inside of it. It was enormous, especially since they apparently had time to build an underground complex. Also, they had many expertly laid traps all over their compound. Ibiki had talked with the Sandaime, and soon the Uzumaki family will be trained in molding chakra. Of course, the Hyuga and Uchiha families objected, but most of the Jounins and Chunins agreed that Joker, Harley, and Naruto should be trained. The non-ninja villagers still saw Naruto as Kyuubi, and tried to vent their hatred against the Uzumaki family. It had taken only a week before the villagers learned to stop attacking the Uzumaki home, as many died due to the traps, and a few were mauled by the two hyenas. Anko was impressed by Harley's skills. Apparently, Harley had always subconsciously used her chakra in order to hide large objects behind her back and to give herself increased strength and dexterity. As Harley learned how to be a ninja and learn ninjutsu, she incorporated her two other abilities into her fighting style. Also, Anko noticed that all three Uzumakis had green-colored chakra, as opposed to the usual blue or white. Apparently, this chakra was poisonous and acidic on its most basic levels. When Anko asked Harley why she thought that this was so, Harley figured that it must have been all the chemicals that they dealt with on a regular basis, including their secret family recipe. What recipe? Inquired the snake ninja. Smilex, was Harley's reply. What does that do? There are two types of Smilex. The first makes your body's muscles freeze up, the heart and diaphragm last. However, your facial muscles are permanently stuck in a smile. The other type forces you to laugh to death. Only a steady supply of morphine can keep you from doing so, but at that point, you're useless anyway. All three of us are immune to Smilex though. Devious, replied the serpentine Kunoichi. You should see some of our weapons. Anko's sweat dropped. Joker was very happy living like a ninja. He considered himself to be quite a sneaky one too. Not quiet, but sneaky. Using himself as a distraction, he could do all sorts of things to enemy ninja. Anyway, he still wore his business suit, but he also wore the forehead protector on his head, slightly off-center. Okay, very off-center. The left-hand brads were positioned in the center of his forehead. Harley wore her usual skin-tight spandex, and wore her forehead protector like a belt. Naruto hadn't graduated from the academy yet, so he didn't have one. He did find some goggles somewhere though, and wore those on his forehead. At first, Naruto had wanted to wear an orange jumpsuit, but Joker got him a black one instead, saying that it was more practical anyway. Yes, Joker was happy. There were all sorts of rules he had to follow, but he could always get research subjects from elsewhere. Plus, he and Harley had been promoted to Jounin status very quickly. Yes, happy joy. Finally, A place where his talents would be appreciated. Joker was strolling through Konoha, singing. What a beautiful morning! What a beautiful day! I have a beautiful feel what? This immediately made everyone pay attention to their own business and ignore Joker. His grin became even wider as he remembered what had happened earlier that morning. 4 Iwanin's rock ninjas, from the Earth Country, had been caught snooping around Konoha. It was up to Uzumaki Joker and Marino Ibiki to determine what they were doing there. Joker had taken the toughest-looking one into a separate room and Ibiki generated a complex genjutsu so that the other 3 could hear their teammates' screams, but they wouldn't be able to understand a word he said. Ibiki decided to try to get some information out of them without killing them. Now, the man with the sickly green hair is known simply as Mr. J, and he is a very enthusiastic interrogator. They began to hear some screaming from the other room. You can answer my questions now, or I can hand you over to. He was interrupted by Joker opening the door in between the rooms. Screams could still be heard. Hey Marino-san. My last kunai just got stuck, can I borrow one of yours? Ibiki simply handed him a kunai. Joker closed the door. Him for questioning. All 3 of them responded at once. We'll talk. We'll talk. Ibiki simply grinned. In the other room, Joker was having a blast. His victim had finally stopped screaming, and was now sobbing. Joker asked the questions regarding the man's intentions. After he wrote down the answers, he then asked if the man had any other useful information that might make the clown/ninja a little more merciful. There's a summoning contract, the Earth National said, in between painful gasps, that you might be interested in. It is for jackals and hyenas. Tell me more, responded the pale-faced man. After Joker had gotten what information he wanted, he simply gave the man a cyanide pie. Joker was going home to tell his family the news. They would have to ask the Sandaime for permission to go on an expedition to the far corner of the Earth Country, but it would be worth it. Joker walked down the path made of large stones to the front door of the Uzumaki estate, as it was the only safe pathway to the door. He was careful not to step on the pink-colored stone, as it was a 50,000-volt shock pad. He entered the building and went into the basement, where the sounds of Harley training Naruto could be heard. He walked into the training room just in time to see Naruto initiate Harley's trademark cartwheel style. Harley looked as if she could care less. Just when Naruto got within range, Harley gave him a boot to the head. Thwack! Naruto sailed across the room, thud, hitting the far wall and landing in a heap. After a few seconds, Naruto sat up and shook off the dizziness. Son, Joker began. You need to be careful when fighting people. You never know when they'll give you a boot to the head. I kinda figured that out. Anyway, I have good news. Harley raised an eyebrow. How? There are no cars in this world and therefore no car insurance. That's not what I meant. Harley and Naruto both snickered. Then they burst into laughter. Appreciative of good jokes and of bad jokes, and in fact, of any jokes whatsoever, Joker soon joined them. Sarutobi realized that he would have to give in to the Uzumaki family's request. Who knows what trouble they'll cause if they don't get what they want. Besides, for the most part, the 3 of them have been behaving themselves. However, he would have to send someone to keep an eye on them. Maybe that genius from the Uchiha family. Joker. Yes? I've thought it over and I've decided to allow you to go, but on one condition. Sounds fair. What will be the condition? I'll be sending Uchiha Itachi along with you too. Joker interrupted. Keep an eye on us? The old man blinked. Yes. Deal. Wait, what? Well, I figured that there would be a catch, but I was prepared for one that was a lot worse than the weasel. Well, the Hokage couldn't argue Joker's logic, no point, really, but he was surprised that Joker came prepared to make a deal. This foreign summoning contract must be really important to the clown ninja. Not that he would go back on the deal, but the Sandaime wondered who Joker considered to be worse than Itachi. Anyway, Sarutobi considered that this would be good training for Itachi as well. Because if the Uchiha genius could learn to get along with the Uzumakis, then he could deal with anyone. He just hoped that Itachi's sanity remained mostly intact after the journey. If not, then the rest of the Uchiha clan should be able to put him down, right? Uchiha Itachi was not a happy camper. That much Harley could see. Like all the other bird-brained Uchihas, the little weasel was full of pride and had no sense of humor. At least in the other world, Birdbrain had a sense of humor. As an added bonus, their 2 pet hyenas annoyed the snot out of him. Anyway, Joker kept pestering the spoiled brat, ranging from openly mocking him, to making strange noises when his back was turned, to asking him random and purely unrelated questions. What the hell does the color of my toothbrush have to do with anything? Just asking. Sheesh. What a temper. Well, the effects were obvious. And what was Joker trying to do? Entertain Naruto, obviously. Said blonde boy was in a giggling fit. Harley admitted to herself that it was a hilarious way to pass the time and entertain their son. Joker decided to mock the teenager again. I don't know why you seem to think that yelling is a good idea. We are in the Earth Country, admittedly enemy territory, and you don't seem to understand the meaning of the words ninja, silence, stealth, or whispering. Harley was sure that if Itachi was any more annoyed, his head would explode. Literally. She decided it was time to intervene. Pardon. Yeah? I think we need to get Mr. Weasel back to Konoha alive. What? Is he sick? Harley gave him a look. I appreciate that you're trying to entertain our boy, but I think you've pushed it far enough. Okay, honey. You're right. I won't bother him for the rest of the trip. Joker's fingers were crossed behind his back. Itachi couldn't see, but Naruto and Harley could. Naruto did his best to keep from laughing. And he was succeeding. Harley simply rolled her eyes. Itachi looked relieved and quickly schooled his features. Then his eye twitched when the hyenas chuckled a bit. Off in the bushes, a four-man team of Iwanins were planning on stopping these Konohanins. Capturing them all was a priority. The Uchiha would be useful for genetic studies, and the pale-faced, sickly green-haired one matched the descriptions of Fire Country's infamous Mr. J, who in the short time of 5 months somehow managed to make it into every country's bingo book. They figured capturing the blonde brat first would be the best course of action. Certainly a 6-year-old wasn't all that dangerous, right? The Uzumaki family plus one very annoyed Uchiha came across a small village one afternoon. Harley decided that they would spend the night at the inn. Itachi ordered his own room and paid for it himself. Joker decided that Naruto should have his own room as well, and Harley hesitantly agreed. Naruto seemed a little worried, but then Harley eased his fears. Naruto, you do realize you are scarier than anything that might try to get to you in the dark, right? Good point. Good night, Ka-san. It is interesting to note that Itachi was the last to fall asleep, as he hated the pranks Joker pulled on him. Because of that, Itachi was dead tired, and didn't notice any of the noises coming from the room next to his. The next morning, Itachi was the first to awaken, as he really didn't like a pie in the face every morning. When he was finished getting ready, he exited his room just in time to see Joker walking out of the room across the hall with a pie in hand. Joker blinked, then smirked. He then stepped to the side as Harley came out of the same room. She looked from one ninja to the other, before heading to the room next to Itachi's Naruto's room. Well, maybe my son will appreciate a wake-up call, Joker said. He followed Harley into Naruto's room. Itachi decided to watch. Son? Where are you? This prank was funny the first 9 times, but it's gotten old, Harley said as she looked around the room for her blue-eyed boy. It was obvious to Itachi that there was some sort of struggle in the room the night before, but he refrained from commenting. Joker set the pie down on the nightstand, sat on the bed, and plucked a piece of paper from the pillow. He read it and chuckled. Har? Get a load of this. She walked over and read it. Then she giggled. What's so amusing? The black-haired teenager asked. Joker handed him the sheet. Itachi read it, and grew worried for the brat, even though he hated the whole Uzumaki family. It said, We have your son. If you wish to see him alive, you will surrender yourselves by noon at the grove to the north. He will only live if all 3 of you show up. Come unarmed, or else we shall take his head as a souvenir back to IWA. And do not bring your hyenas. It was not signed. How can you possibly find this amusing? Harley rolled her eyes. You think this is the first time this has happened? Joker chuckled again. Gets more hilarious each time. Itachi was appalled. What does? You'll see. Come on. Let's go watch the show. They walked into the grove and found all 4 of the Iwanins standing there, waiting. The stone ninja furthest to the back was holding Naruto off the ground with his right arm clutching the boy to his chest and had a kunai at his neck. Naruto looked bored. So you have come to surrender, the female Iwanin, who was obviously the leader of this team, said. Actually, Joker began. We came to watch the show. That was Naruto's cue. Using his left hand, he grabbed his captor's family jewels and began shocking them. Paralyzed, the man dropped the kunai, and Naruto twisted and grabbed his face with his right hand. Again with the electricity. Naruto then grabbed the back of his head with his left hand and began to liberally fry the poor Iwanin's brain. Gotta love the chakra-powered joy buzzers we invented last month, Harley said. I love how we disguised them as our gloves, stated Joker. There's still 3 enemy ninja who need to die, deadpanned Itachi. He drew several kunai. Well, the leader escaped the fight somehow and had fled into the village. Joker and Harley decided that there should be no witnesses. No. I am not going to kill civilians. Fine, Weasel Boy. But you'll have to wake up pretty early tomorrow to avoid what's coming to you. I'll help you round them up, but I won't do the actual killing part. Good boy. You get a fish. Joker reached into his business suit and seemingly pulled a still-living salmon out of a pocket and dropped it into Itachi's lap. Have you been carrying this around all day? Of course not. Naruto spoke up. That's just silly. Itachi's sweat dropped, and then he twitched when the hyenas laughed presumably at him again. They gathered every living human into the village square. Harley then shouted, If any of you are ninja, raise your hand. No one raised their hand. The hyenas chuckled. Pity, said Naruto. Harley reached behind her back and pulled out a chain gun. Allow me to introduce Freddy. Harley was clearly proud of the name she had given her weapon. Of all the people assembled, only Naruto and his parents actually knew what kind of weapon it was that the clown Kunoichi held. She then unloaded it on the small mass of people. Faces, heads, and torsos were riddled with bullets before there were only 23 living things left in the village. 8 of them were birds, 2 of them were cats, 5 of them were of the rodent variety, another 2 were hyenas, and the remaining 4 were human. That is an interesting weapon, commented Itachi. No soup for you, was Harley's reply. Blink. What does soup have to do with anything? Naruto rolled his eyes. I'm 6, and even I know that what mommy said was just an expression. Suddenly, Itachi wished that the little brat had died in the fight earlier that day. Rage began to boil within him when the hyenas laughed again. Then the 2 canine beasts went in amongst the dead and began eating. Several weeks later, Uchiha Itachi had finally returned home. He was mildly happy, sort of. He decided that he needed more power, though. Wait. He heard of the Manjikyu Sharingan. He decided to meet with his best friend Uchiha Shursui that night, even though there was an Uchiha clan meeting scheduled. On the other hand, the Uzumaki family was seen carrying 10 coffins with them into their lair. Joker carried 2, Naruto carried 1, Harley carried 3, 1 strapped to her back, and the hyenas carried 2 each, tied to them like pack mules. Gecko Hate was sent to ask what the coffins were for. These are volunteers in my research about Kekkei Genkai, replied the Joker. And since the Uzumaki family was permitted to research such things as long as none from the Fire Country were used in the research, Hate let them go. Later that week, the entire Uchiha clan, save 2, were murdered in a single night. With the beginning of a new academy year and Naruto having been brought up to speed on every lesson he missed since age 4 in the matter of 7 months, Harley decided that it was time for her little boy to go to the ninja academy to become a genin. So he was sent off to the academy early in the morning, as it was pretty far from the Forest of Death. Much of the village was still in shock about the massacre of the Uchiha clan, as most of the police officers in the town had been Uchihas. Some of the villagers blamed the Uzumaki family for making the murderer insane, while others blamed the murderer, Uchiha Itachi, and his lust for power. Naruto was aware that it actually was a combination of the two, though Naruto was puzzled by the fact that the weasel didn't kill his younger brother Sasuke. Oh well, no matter. Naruto looked back to see one of their pet hyenas following him. This was the one who had the darker fur, and he was a little smaller than the other one, who happened to be a boy. Neither of his parents had named them, but Naruto felt that they should have names. Hey there, Clyde. Walking me to school? The hyena replied with a chuckle. Naruto then noticed that it was still walking with a limp. Oh, sorry, Clyde. I forgot about what happened 2 weeks ago. You, me, and Bonnie were roughhousing, and you happened to bite me, so I bit back. Sorry that it didn't completely heal. I didn't mean to put my chakra into it. Clyde licked Naruto's face, seemingly forgiving him. The blonde kid smiled. As he got further into town, most people stayed the hell away from him and his pet hyena. Those that didn't were either stupid or weren't watching where they were going. But then there was that weird kid with the sunglasses, black hair, and turtleneck jacket. No, it wasn't quite a turtleneck, as it didn't hug his neck. The kid seemed perfectly at home with any kind of animal. Then Naruto noticed something crawling on the sunglass kid's face. You're an Aburame, aren't you? And you're the psychopath Uzumaki child. And proud of it. Is the Uzumaki clan like the Inuzuka clan? What? The dog users? Nah. Then why is the hyena following you? Clyde's walking me to school, he turned around. And trying to maim that old lady, if you'll excuse me. Abiram Shino actually stopped to watch the blonde lunatic kick Clyde in the ribs. Clyde let go of the woman's leg and snarled at his attacker. The instant he realized it was Naruto, he crouched and whimpered. Bad hyena, scolded Naruto. Bad. He punched Clyde in the nose for good measure. Seeing that Clyde was sufficiently punished for now, Naruto continued on for school. He did take note that the Abiram actually waited up for him. So what's your name? Abiram Shino, age 7. Uzumaki Naruto, also age 7. Say, wanna come over to my house after school or something? Most people tend to want to stay away from your house, Naruto. You only get hurt if you weren't invited. I'll have to think about it. Do you like bugs? Only the poisonous ones. Why only those? 'Cause they taste like chicken. Shino tried his hardest not to face fault. He managed to succeed, but only by a small margin. You really eat the poisonous bugs? They don't actually taste like chicken. They're quite bland, so I don't bother eating most bugs. But you still eat some. It wasn't a question. Yeah. The Uzumaki style is to use poisons and chemicals against our opponents, so we eat poisonous things to improve our own. Interesting. Shino figured that maybe a friendship with the town crazies might be beneficial in the long run. Well, maybe friendship was too strong a word. Alliance then. Say, whose class are you going to be in? Yumano Irika-sensei. Really? Me too. As they continued to the academy, Naruto noticed that Shino was reserved and quiet, but he had a hidden sense of humor. The rest of the journey went without incident, with the voice in the back of Naruto's head acting up every so often. Though Clyde got rather excited when they neared the academy. He went so far as to try and attack a girl with pink hair and a wide forehead. Naruto gave him a boot to the head before he could pounce on the startled girl. Clyde, threatened Naruto. That's enough. Go home. Clyde got the picture. Naruto was mad. He had to get back to the relative safety of Harley before Naruto decided to get serious. He ran back to the Uzumaki estate with his tail tucked between his legs, and didn't stop until he got there. Naruto turned to the girl. Sorry about that. Clyde gets excited sometimes. The girl suddenly became angry. You shouldn't have brought that monster along. Naruto looked at Shino, then turned back. That's not very nice. Shino's just a bug user, not a monster. The girl obviously hadn't expected Naruto to say that. Shino did. He simply shook his head from side to side, admiring the humor in his own special way. I was talking about the hyena, you dolt. She then tried to smack Naruto upside the head. And missed. Actually, Naruto dodged. No sense of humor and a short fuse on your temper, said the blonde child. Kids these days. Naruto ignored the voice in the back of his head, demanding that Naruto bash open her skull. As funny as this is, Shino began. I think we should get to class, Naruto. All right. He briefly turned back to the wide forehead girl. Try to lighten up. She began fuming. If glares could kill, oh yeah. They can. Well, if her glares could kill, Naruto would be dead. Suddenly, she heard another girl's voice. Sakura. The pink-haired girl Harino Sakura turned around. Oh. Hi Ino. A skinny girl with long blonde hair tied in a ponytail came running up. What happened to you? Yamanaka Ino asked when she saw that Sakura's clothes were dirty. Some idiot brought his pet hyena to school, and it tried to attack me. You're kidding. I wish I was. A bell was heard. Both girls yelled crap. We're late. And ran inside. Naruto chose a seat next to a sleeping boy with black hair done in a short-cut ponytail to his right. Shino decided to sit to Naruto's left. They were towards the back of the class. Now who is this? Asked Naruto. Nara Shikamaru, replied Shino. He's the laziest kid in class. Naruto poked the sleeping boy. Shikamaru stirred. 5 more minutes, Mom. Just 5 more minutes, said he, and then he went back to sleep. Naruto grinned. For the first time, Shino was creeped out by the blonde kid. Shino? Yes? he replied in an inexpressive manner. This year of school is going to be fun. Later in the year, Shikamaru tried his best to stay awake, but to no avail. Thunk. A kunai missed his head by mere centimeters. Sorry, said Naruto with a grin. My hand slipped. Shikamaru watched as Naruto went back to his little game of mumbly peg, rapidly poking the kunai's point in between his fingers. Shikamaru knew he wouldn't be able to sleep through class ever again. Iruka was watching Naruto, wishing that Naruto would stop being a class clown, or that something could be done about the boy's behavior. Unfortunately, when he brought it up with Mrs. Uzumaki, she frowned at him. Then she pulled a huge mallet out from behind her back. He awoke in the hospital after that. Still, the boy had talent and did all of his work on time. Shikamaru seemed to be putting more effort into his schoolwork, as the young Uzumaki simply wouldn't let the boy sleep. And though the blonde clown continued to goof off, his grades were improving, possibly the influence of Shino, who seemed indifferent towards Naruto's antics. Iruka was worried about Hyuga Hinata though. Her grades were good, but she was way too shy with practically anyone. He suspected that her father neglected her or expected too much of her, thus fueling the dark blue-haired girl's depression. However, with the inclusion of Naruto into his class, she seemed to perk up. Iruka constantly caught her taking sidelong glances at the boy and giggling at his jokes and pranks. Speaking of his antics, Naruto mostly focused on Shikamaru out of convenience. Uchiha Sasuke, the emo kid, needs to lighten up, Sakura, she deserves it, and Ino, she's asking for it when he pulled a prank. Though he did pull pranks on the other students. Once, Naruto called the Kimichi Chuji fat, and the brown-haired boy punched the blonde kid into the ceiling. When Naruto pulled himself out, he corrected himself saying that Chuji was muscle-bound. He called Chuji the name Muscles ever since. Iruka could see that it wasn't out of fear, but out of respect for the young Akimichi's strength. Inuzuka Kiba seemed to be doing fine, though he was usually the one who laughed the loudest at Naruto's pranks and jokes. Naruto seemed to respect him, but also seemed to dislike him. Naruto was having the time of his life. In the 2 years he'd been at the academy, he realized that the black-haired emo kid, Sasuke, was never going to lighten up. Too bad he was exactly like his older brother, minus the killing an entire clan bit which lacked style and finesse and humor. He also noticed that 2 of the girls, what were their names again? Was it Forehead and Horse? Oh yeah, Sakura and Ino. He realized that they were obsessed over Sasuke. In fact, nearly every girl was obsessed with him. All but one anyway. Naruto noticed her taking sidelong glances at him and giggling at his humor. What was that Mom and Dad talked to me about? Thought Naruto, as he played his favorite game. Oddly enough, the voice in his head was silent. Ah yes. I need to find a girl to manipulate, just the way Mom was knowingly manipulated by Dad. What was her name again? Ah yes. Hinata. She is the only one not eating out of Sasuke's palm. It will be difficult to manipulate her without her getting offended. Why the hell am I thinking about this now? I'm 9. Oh, Shikamaru nodded off again. Thunk. Hey Iruka-sensei. Shika-san's gonna need a new desk. What? Again. That's the 3rd time this week. Some laughed, some giggled, and a few did nothing. Classic, thought Shino. I fell asleep again? Thought Shikamaru. How troublesome. That is hilarious, thought inner Sakura. Sakura herself was thinking more along the lines that both of them were idiots. That's what that slacker gets, thought Ino as she laughed. All this laughing is making me hungry, thought Chuji. This is just too funny, thought Kiba. Naruto-kun is so cute and funny, thought Hinata as she giggled. Idiots, thought Sasuke. They're all idiots. Laughter is useless. Stupid Naruto. Naruto sneezed, making everyone laugh harder. Well, that was random, he thought. I wonder who was thinking about me. Maim. Kill. Destroy. I wish that stupid voice in my head would shut up. Maul them all. Shut up already. Sorry. And with that, Naruto grumbled mentally while laughing. It was bring your hero to class day at the academy. Iruka dreaded who some of the students would bring. Especially Naruto. Luckily, Mizuki would be assisting him today. Kiba brought his older sister. Sasuke brought in the Hokage. Ino, Chuji, and Shikamaru each brought their fathers. Sakura brought her mother. Hinata brought her father. So did Shino. Naruto. Well, Iruka feared he would bring his father, and Naruto did. All the other classmates brought parents, friends of the family, etc. Each hero had to say a bit about what they did as their job. Most of them were ninjas, but they all specialized in something or other. Finally, it was Joker's turn. Well, he began rather casually. I ask people questions, make them offers they can't refuse, and take out the trash. Many of the students laughed at that. They didn't realize that what he said translated to I interrogate people, torture them, and kill them in a systematic fashion. Joker continued. I also research things, make mincemeat stew, and generally make people laugh. I'm a scientist, which involves dissecting things and making smileys. Additionally, I devise pranks. I create traps, tools, and poisons. And pull pranks. All the full-fledged ninja knew exactly what Joker meant. So did Shino and Naruto. All the students laughed at what the Joker said, including Shino and Naruto. When it was time for the heroes to leave so that the class can receive its normal lessons, Joker spied a man in a green bodysuit privately tutoring a boy wearing similar clothing. He judged correctly that the boy was a year older than Naruto. Joker noticed that they were training in martial arts, which for some silly reason was called taijutsu in this world. Then he noticed the weights that they both had strapped to them. The weights were small in size, but these were likely some sort of ninja weights. Joker decided to inquire about them. After talking with Might Guy and his pupil, Rock Lee, Joker had ideas for his own weights. Although rather hilarious to talk to, Guy did have some tips on making the weights. He made it clear that the weights were much heavier than they appeared, but their weight was fixed. Joker decided to make some self-adjusting weights for Naruto. The weights would make themselves heavier depending on how much chakra flowed through the body, but they wouldn't react to weird fluctuations such as a sudden increase or decrease in flow due to a jutsu. Naruto was going to be strong, just like Harley and Joker wanted him to be. Joker snickered as he thought of how ridiculous both Guy and Lee looked in their bodysuits and bowl-cut hair. On his way home, he sung the song Kung Fu Fighting in English. Joker was perplexed as to why no one in the Uzumaki clan could perform a simple bunshin. Perhaps their green chakra was too unstable? It was a possibility. Also, Naruto's attempts at bunshins failed more spectacularly than Joker's or Harley's. He knew his son would figure something out, or else he'd fail graduation. Anyway, he finally had something to cheer the boy up. Naruto. Harley. Could you come to the aquarium for a moment? The blonde boy and the Harlequin Kunoichi entered the aquarium room of the Uzumaki estate. Joker was standing to one side of a curtain, right next to the pull string, with his trademark grin on his face. Behold, he began, as he pulled the string. Smiling piranha. Finished breeding them just last week. Harley was ecstatic. Now they wouldn't have to hang the victim upside down like she had to do with Batman. Naruto simply found it amusing that the fish were smiling back at him. Then Naruto had an idea. Hey, could we set this tank up to be used for fish food? Already did so. Suga. Finally the test day came. Bonnie apparently decided to walk Naruto to school. Naruto was okay with it, since she didn't act up as often as Clyde. Hey Shino! Hey! You ready for the finals? Yeah. You. Not so much. I still can't get the bunshin to work properly. My parents can't do them either, so I hope they pass me anyway. Me too. It'd be boring on a team without you. You know, maybe I could threaten to make Irika-sensei's life a living hell if he doesn't pass me. What do you think? I think you just get in trouble. So? Just saying. You still up for rigging the team assignments after the finals? Of course. Bonnie! She stopped growling at a baby carriage across the street and went back to following Naruto and Shino. We're almost there. Might as well send her home. Right. Bonnie? Go home. Bonnie turned around and headed back to the Uzumaki estate at a leisurely pace, but then noticed the baby carriage again. Now! Bonnie bolted for the safety of the Uzumaki home after hearing the anger in Naruto's voice. Next. Naruto walked into the classroom. Alright Naruto, henge into the Hokage, commanded Irika. Poof! The image of the Sandame was standing before Irika and Mizuki. Substitution, commanded Mizuki. Naruto made a few hand seals and switched places with one of the chairs in the back of the class. You ready for the next one? Asked Irika. As I'll ever be. Bunshin, commanded Irika. Poof! Naruto created one bunshin, but it wasn't a very good one. It was pale and sickly, and couldn't even stand on its own. In frustration, Naruto stamped out the clone. I'm sorry, Naruto, but we're not going to be able to pass you. Iruka, he still made a clone. Isn't that good enough? Mizuki, you know very well that such a bunshin would likely get him killed if he ever took a C-rank mission. Sorry, Naruto. How about I make you sorry? Threatened Naruto with a sadistic grin on his face. Mizuki shuddered. But Iruka was as firm as ever. No. Well, it was worth a try. Later, outside the classroom, Mizuki approached Naruto. Naruto? Naruto had a creepy grin on his face as he turned to face Mizuki. Yes, Mizuki-sensei? Twitch. May I have a word with you? Sure. But just one? Kind of a waste of breath, don't you think? Mizuki shook his head. Master Iruka is a really serious guy. His parents died when he was young, so everything he's accomplished he did by himself, with a lot of hard work and discipline. Yeah, so what? So you remind him of himself. How so? Well, you're an orphan, right? Kinda, but I have parents now too. And neither one can do the Bunshin no Jutsu. I really wish I could just graduate. I guess that leaves no choice then. For what? Naruto was getting annoyed at how Mizuki was beating around the bush. I have a secret test for you. Pass this test, and you graduate. Twitch. Naruto grinned again. About time you got here, said Naruto, startling Iruka. Gah! Yelled Iruka. Don't talk so creepily. Wait, what are you doing here? Practicing ninjutsu. And you had to steal that scroll to practice? Yeah, Mizuki-sensei told me about it. He said that if I memorized and mastered at least one jutsu on this scroll that I would graduate. So I learned too. Wait, Mizuki? Thought Iruka. He suddenly pushed Naruto out of the way. Get down! Thunk 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 thunk. Nice impression of a pretzel, commented Naruto. But you're not twisted like one. I'm surprised you knew where to go, Iruka, laughed Mizuki. Naruto, I'll be taking the scroll now. Don't you dare let him have it, Naruto. He set you up so that he could steal it. That so? Naruto, Mizuki began. Haven't you wondered why all the villagers hate you? Shut up, Mizuki, Iruka yelled out. Hear that? Mizuki smiled evilly. It's part of a law. What law? The law that says you aren't allowed to learn who you are. You want to know what really happened 12 years ago to the demon fox? Don't listen to him. Shut up. I want to hear what he has to say. Please continue. It was sealed within you. You are the demon fox. You are the QB. Naruto cocked his head. No, that's not possible. My chakra signature is that of a human. That's what Auntie Anko said it was. Hey voice. What? Are you the demon fox this idiot is talking about? Are you QB? What if I am? Naruto used the trick he had learned only last year. He pumped a little bit of chakra into the back of his mind. Due to the poisonous and caustic nature of his chakra, such a trick yielded a satisfying result. Ga! Painaganima kite stop. Please make it stop. So are you QB or not? Oh yes I am. I am merely sealed inside of you though. That's all I wanted to know. Naruto smiled toothily at Mizuki. Twitch. Stupid demon. Stop doing that. So, you're a traitor to this village and you want to steal the forbidden scroll, eh? Iruka quickly realized what Naruto might do. Naruto started cracking his knuckles in his neck. Ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight? The blonde asked in an extremely creepy tone of voice. Mizuki's eyes became as big as dinner plates. Naruto made a seal with his hands, one that created a cross with his index and middle fingers of both of his hands. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. So that was one of the techniques Naruto learned, thought Iruka. There were well over 100 Narutos in the area. They then descended on Mizuki like piranhas. Mizuki's screams of pain could be heard from the forest. When Naruto was finished, he dispelled his bunshins and then injected a semi-conscious Mizuki with a good deal of Type 1 Smilex. Slowly, Mizuki's body began to stiffen up, and his face contorted into a painful-looking smile. Traitor eliminated, stated Naruto. Say Iruka? Wanna go get some ramen? Why did you kill him? He should have stood trial and such. I killed him because he was a traitor and he tricked me. What? Does Konoha not promote vigilantism? Never mind. Come here. I have something for you. What is it? Iruka handed over his forehead protector. Say what? You graduate. I guess he really didn't trick me at all. Oops. Not to worry. He was still a traitor. Oh good. Say, how many other people think that I'm Kyuubi? Practically the whole village and about half of the shinobi. It's going to be fun proving them wrong. How about that ramen then? My treat. Awesome. Let's go to Ichiraka's stand. We always go there. Yeah, but I like the guy's name, it's fun to say. Ichiraka. 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 As they walked to give the scroll back to the Hokage and then go to the Ichiraka ramen stand, Naruto sang "We are the champions" in Japanese, causing Iruka to laugh. The next day. So you want your picture taken like this? Asked the photographer. Yeah, hurry up before my face freezes this way, replied Naruto. Why did you have your picture taken with this face? Asked the Sandaime Hokage. To confuse people. The Hokage raised his eyebrow. You decided to take a picture with a perfectly normal face in order to confuse people? Yeah. Most people would expect me to smile evilly or sadistically or something like that. True. The door suddenly opened. I challenge you, old man. A runt of a kid came running into the room, and then tripped on his own scarf. Naruto burst out laughing. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow. So Konohamaru managed to escape Ebisu yet again? Stop laughing, demanded the small boy. Oddly enough, Naruto complied. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Naruto cracked up and fell out of his seat. The poor boy was getting angrier by the minute. Konohamaru, began the Sandaime. The boy looked to his grandfather, the Hokage. Naruto managed to stop laughing, though he seemed ready to bust a gut at any moment. As Hokage, I can definitely say that Naruto here didn't do anything to you. Yeah, began the blonde shinobi. The opponent who so deftly defeated you is, in fact, trying to choke you to death right now. At this, Konohamaru panicked and tried to ward off whoever his assailant was. Upon seeing the young child's reaction, Naruto fell backwards, laughing. Realizing something was amiss, Konohamaru stopped flailing about and proceeded to glare at the young Uzumaki. The Hokage was snickering, and though Konohamaru missed that fact, Naruto didn't. When Naruto was finished, the Sandaime spoke up. He meant your scarf, grandson. Embarrassed, Konohamaru blushed. Upon seeing the look on the boy's face, Naruto began laughing again. This time, he rolled onto his stomach and started beating the floor with his fists as he laughed. The floor began to crack, and he ended up breaking it and falling through into the room below. Gah! He called out as he did so. Several crashing noises were heard, including a piano being smashed, a few turkeys screaming in fear, a car horn and alarm going off, and just after all had gone silent, the sound of a hubcap rolling around on the floor until it fell over just like in cartoons. I'm okay. In the room above, the Hokage and his grandson's sweat dropped. And then Ebisu entered the room to take his charge off of his employer's hands. He glanced over at the hole. I know it's not my place to pry, Honorable Hokage, Ebisu began. But whatever punishment you put that ninja through was a bit harsh. I did nothing to him. He simply laughed too hard. Nanny? It was the Uzumaki boy. Oh. Makes perfect sense then. Come along, Konohamaru. Naruto was headed towards the Aburame estate when he got the feeling that he was being followed. He turned around to see a box-shaped rock with eye holes cut out. Naruto leisurely walked up to it and nonchalantly kicked it. The box ended up landing upside down with Konohamaru still in it, plus a black eye. Never, and I do mean never, try to sneak around behind me, runt. If you have business with me, try approaching me face to face. How come you're so mean? Naruto laughed. You tend to be mean when your father and mother are both murderous psychopaths with a twisted sense of humor. Konohamaru was stunned. They really weren't like that. No, they couldn't be. After he was finished assuring himself that no one so evil could have been raised in or ever lived in Konoha, causing Itachi and Orochimaru to sneeze, wherever they were, He asked Naruto the question that he meant to ask him. Would you please train me? Naruto's answer was curt and short, and allowed no argument or further discussion. No, period. With that, he continued on his way to Shino's house, leaving the spoiled brat that was Konohamaru behind, crying. Then, just to shut the brat up, Naruto picked up a boot from a trash pile and chucked it at Konohamaru's head, knocking him out. That night, Shino and Naruto managed to sneak into the Hokage's office. They looked up who was going to be in what teams. Ino, Chuji, and Shikamaru. Jounin is Sarutobi Asuma, stated Shino. Not surprising. Next, requested Naruto. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba. Jounin is Hatake Kakashi. Where's the logic there? Sasuke is an Uchiha, and Kakashi happens to have a Sharingan for some reason. Since Sasuke is the top of the class, despite your distractions, and Kiba is the dead last, they put them on the same team. Sakura was thrown in there as an afterthought, apparently. I see. Next. Myself, you, and Hinata. Jounin is Yuhi Kurinai. Seems like we don't need to make any changes so far. Wait a minute, who is our Jounin again? Yuhi Kurinai. She's new, so I don't know much about her. We'll have to give her a greeting of some sort then. Next. And so they went over the next few teams. And made no changes whatsoever. Much to the Hokage's chagrin. He was hiding in the shadows, and was waiting for someone to try and change the teams around, as had happened every single year. And he really was in a vindictive mood at the moment. He was so bored. The next day, Naruto and his parents were training. Both Joker and Harley also managed to learn the Kagebunshin from Naruto. With some experimenting, they discovered the Shuriken Kagebunshin no Jutsu. It allowed one to essentially create Kagebunshins of any non-living thrown object. It couldn't be used with Fishfu, but it could be used with the chemical and regular pies, kunai, shuriken, various other projectiles, and flashbangs and other grenades. Also, Joker had developed a new jutsu, named Caustic Fist no Jutsu. It enveloped the hands and feet in green acidic goo. It had 2 hand seals to activate horse and then monkey. He taught it to his son and wife. Additionally, Harley created a defensive jutsu and an offensive offshoot jutsu of it. The first was called Caustic Barrier no Jutsu, and it essentially created a bubble made of the same green acidic goo. It required 3 hand seals: snake, boar, monkey, in that order, followed by the caster sticking her left hand into the air and spinning around on the ball of their left foot once clockwise or counterclockwise. It didn't matter. The offensive jutsu was called Caustic Barrier Conversion, Caustic Bomb no Jutsu, and required the caustic barrier to be in place beforehand. It didn't have any hand seals. She taught both of them to her husband and son. While playing around with the Kagebunshin, the 3 of them managed to come up with another version of it, the Akuna Kagebunshin no Jutsu. When it was dispelled or destroyed, it left behind a small amount of poisonous gas. Also, Naruto managed to combine the Senai Jashu Hidden Shadow Snake Hands technique he had learned from Auntie Anko with the Caustic Fist, thereby firing an acid-covered snake out of his wrist instead of a regular snake. By the time they were finished, it was dinner time, and Naruto was determined to be at the academy on time the next day in order to find out whether or not the teams had been changed by the Hokage anyway. Naruto knew that the old man had been in the same room as him, as had Shino, simply because he had managed to learn what the beat of a heart sounded like from across a room. As Joker had said, it was a useful skill when it came to interrogating hostages. After dinner, Naruto decided to finally name his sawed-off shotgun. He named it Clarice. The next day. Team 7, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, Inuzuka Kiba. Jounin instructor is Hatake Kakashi. Yes. I'm on the same team as Sasuke. Kyuso. Hear that, Akamaru? We're on the same team as the genius kid. And as Sakura. Kiba smiled and started fantasizing. Akamaru rolled his eyes at Kiba's small nosebleed. Somewhere else in the room, Ino was silently cursing her luck. Team 8, Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, Uzumaki Naruto. Jounin instructor is Yuhi Kurinai. Shino said nothing, and Naruto burst out laughing. Hinata was trembling, she was nervous and excited. Team 9 is already in the field. Team 10, Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji, Yamanaka Ino. Jounin instructor is Sarutobi Asuma. Why am I on a team with a lazy good-for-nothing and a fat good-for-nothing while Sakura gets to be on the same team as Sasuke? Ino was definitely annoyed. Shikamaru and Chuji simply shared a look and smiled. Team 11. After all the teams were announced, Kurinai, who had red eyes and was very beautiful, promptly came by to pick up her team. Team 7 was waiting for their jounin for the next 5 hours. In any case, Kurenai took them to a secluded spot to talk with them. As you know, I'll be your jounin instructor. Since I know hardly anything about any of you, I'd like you all to introduce yourselves. Say what? Retorted Naruto. I suppose I should give you an example. My name is Yohi Kurenai. I like flowers and soap operas, and I hate pig-headed idiots. My dream is to surpass the legendary Uchiha clan in terms of genjutsu. You with the glasses, you're next. Aburain Shino. I like bugs. I hate people who are full of themselves. I wish to become an excellent shinobi, like my father. Good. Good. Your turn, Hyuga. I'm Hinata. I like well. Hinata blushed heavily while taking sidelong glances at Naruto. I dislike my father. My dream is to better myself and gain the notice of someone with that. Hinata blushed heavily again while taking sidelong glances at Naruto again. Low self-esteem. I hope I can undo the damage her father has done. An excellent dream, Hinata. And now for the boy who hasn't stopped smiling since we met. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, pranks, jokes, chemicals, ramen, weapons, ramen, jackals, ramen, and hyenas. You mentioned ramen 4 times. So I did. Oh yeah. I also like brunettes. Hinata fainted. Naruto snickered. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Naruto simply grinned in response. Hinata was quickly revived by a glass of water, which Shino happened to have around, for some reason. As for dislikes, I hate humorless people, people who think I'm a demon, and how long it takes for instant cup ramen to cook. It takes like 2 minutes to cook, Naruto. I know. That's still too long. Kurenai and Hinata sweat dropped. Shino was amused. As for my dream, I wish to spread smiles and laughter across the land whether or not people want to smile or laugh. Okay, a rather creepy dream. Well, since we all know each other better, I have a training session for all of you, in order to gauge you skill levels. Meet me tomorrow at the crack of dawn at Training Field 42. And don't eat breakfast. You have the rest of the day off. See you tomorrow. With that, she left. After she was out of earshot, Naruto spoke up. How foolish of her to give us the rest of the day off. I have a plan. I have heard about these initial training sessions. They're called bell tests. We're going to need to rig Field 42 with all sorts of traps and such. Shino, you're going to need to plant a female bug on Kurenai. Shino nodded. Alright, now here's the basic plan. The 6 captured enemy ninja were glaring angrily at the Konoha shinobi, in the middle of their mission near Lightning Country. These included Ino, Hinata, Sasuke, Kiba, Asuma, Kurenai, Naruto, Joker, and Harley. Right now, we need to find out what they know. Asuma started. Leave that to us. Joker grinned. Well, he grinned more than usual. Ha! Like we will ever talk. Joker merely stood before the ninja, who were sitting in a half circle. Naruto walked up to him. Why hello there, Junior. Say, how have your outside missions been lately? Oh, they've been great, Dad. But golly, it is really a shame that I cannot bring my favorite stuff along. You always have all the fun back at home. The Joker's face took on a twisted parody of stage sad. Ah, that is too bad. But don't feel sad. His face lightened up. For I have a new invention, just what you need. Naruto's face lightened up beyond human possibility. Harley walked into view, sashaying her hips into a seductive walk while holding a scroll regally in front of her. Presenting, the Joker's new Poraquarium Ferocious. He pointed with his entire hand. Naruto's hands went to his cheeks, mouth open. Yes, sir, he went back to his audience. You too can now bring with you one of my most favorite toys. No more big and bulky home edition installations. No! This new Poraquarium is set up and ready in less than 3 minutes, and packs up just as quickly, ready on the go. But Dad, how does it work? Why simple, Junior, as Mommy here will demonstrate. Harley, once more in the spotlight, posed with the scroll in her hand, showing it to the crowd. Both Konoha and Kumo did not know what was going on, just observing the eerie infomercial. As Harley began the actions, slowly and clearly so that all could watch, Joker narrated. It is easy, really. First, you locate a tree with a big, strong branch. Next, you open the scroll. Take notice that it is a special and high-quality sealing scroll with stasis seals. First, you unseal the harness. A leather and metal harness popped out. Next, you attach the harness to the tree, making sure that it can be lowered and raised smoothly. After all, if you discover that it gives you problems later on, The trouble just isn't worth it. Next, we need a volunteer. Yes, you, sir. He pointed at one of the enemy ninja. Naruto went and dragged him over. He was tied up. Now we raise him up and unseal the second part. What came out next was just too weird. And creepy. Definitely creepy. It was an aquarium that measured 1.5 meters by 1.5 by 1.5. The aquarium was on wheels as to be maneuverable. Inside, however, were 30 or so fish. What was disturbing was that each of the fish had a smile filled with gruesomely sharp teeth. Next we ride the cart under the volunteer, and dunk him feet first knee-deep into the water. The screams haunted even the most experienced jounins for a good 3 years. The Laughing Fox by Lord Dragonclaw. Disclaimer. My memory isn't so good. Hey look. A disclaimer. Key Japanese. English. Chapter 5. Ding! Kurenai got up as early as she usually did, and got ready to face the 3 genin who had been entrusted to her. This would be her second assignment as a jounin, with the first being attempting to teach Kurama Yakumo. Since Yakumo couldn't handle her powers of genjutsu, Kurenai had to seal the young girl's powers away. Enough of the past, thought the red-eyed jounin. Focus on the present. Kurenai hoped that she could bring Hinata's self-esteem up. But the young Hyuga girl wasn't the only one that she worried about. Shino didn't like to talk much and seemed to be suppressing his emotions. Naruto, well, he was an Uzumaki. Uzumakis were all psychotic. Naruto also seemed to be impatient, impulsive, and predictable. He was going to be difficult to train. Kurenai knew that Naruto would likely use chemistry and a few odd devices. Hinata, if she was confident enough, would try to use the Hyuga clan's Juken style to fight. For Shino, she was bringing bug spray. She knew he was more complex than that, but at least she could keep the swarms away from her for a while. Finally ready with all of her gear, she left for training field 42. She arrived during the pre-dawn light to see that Naruto was already waiting. And he was brushing his teeth. Have Shino and Hinata not shown up yet? Shino was here before me, began the blonde. We waited for a while, but neither Hinata nor you had shown up. Shino volunteered to go get Hinata as I am not welcome anywhere near the Hyuga estate. Oh? Here they come. The jounin turned around to see that Naruto was right. A few minutes later, Kurenai had them lined up, and began explaining the test. You may have passed the tests at the academy, but you have yet to pass my test. My test is quite simple. She pulled a pair of bells out of her pocket, and an alarm clock out another pocket. She set the clock to go off at noon. You have from the time I say go until it is noon to take these bells from me. Each person who gets a bell will be allowed to pass. Whoever doesn't get a bell gets sent back to the academy. Not only that, but whoever doesn't get a bell will also have to skip lunch. Wait, said Shino. There are only 2 bells. That's right. It means at least one of you will be sent back to the academy regardless. Additionally, you should come at me with killer intent, or else you won't win. Any more questions? Yeah, said Naruto, still holding his toothbrush. When do we start? Kurenai attached the bells to her belt. We start now. Go! With that, Shino and Hinata disappeared into the foliage of the trees. Naruto went back to brushing his teeth. Naruto, we already started. Yeah. I know. Naruto then finished brushing his teeth and spit the excess saliva and toothpaste from his mouth. He then did something Kurenai did not expect. He reversed his grip on the toothbrush to reveal that the other end of it was a kunai. May the floss be with you, called out the blonde as he threw the deadly plaque remover straight at her head. Kurenai dodged the projectile. When it collided with a small rock behind her, the blade of the weapon's slash tool broke easily, releasing a small amount of acid that corroded the rock and killed the grass around it. In the meantime, Kurenai hit Naruto with a powerful genjutsu, one that showed the deaths of everyone he ever met. Naruto paused. His omnipresent grin disappeared. He looked around at the horror. Not bad, he said. Not bad. Stunned, the jounin didn't even move by the audacity that the little punk had to not see the excellence of her suddenly. Kurenai realized that he wasn't appraising the genjutsu, but the way that the illusion was portraying the deaths of people. On top of that, he was doing it to piss her off. Calm, she thought. Calm. They likely thought this out beforehand. Naruto's trying to get me to make a mistake and wait. How could they have known about the bell tests? Did someone leak information to them or I get it. Shino is sometimes seen reading a research book. He could have read the public record of the Sannin as written by the Sandaime. Shino must have pieced it together. That one could use quite a bit of work. Stabbed in the heart? That one's been done to death. Slit throat? Now they're just beating a dead horse with that one. They should at least kill a few by beating them with a dead horse. Well, I'm bored. Naruto pulled out a kunai and stabbed his hand. The shock of the pain dispelled the genjutsu. What? You stayed in one place the whole time? Are you sure you're a jounin? I thought you'd at least get behind me or something. You should know better than to insult your superiors, retorted the woman. Kurenai then quickly made a few hand seals and used Doton, Red Sadanshu Earth Release, surrounding palm of the split earth to fire several rocks in Naruto's direction. Naruto wouldn't be able to dodge them all, but she did leave enough time for him to use Kawarimi no Jutsu Substitution no Jutsu. However, that is not what Naruto did. He made 3 hand seals, snake then boar and then monkey. Then he placed his left hand straight into the air with the palm facing skyward. Caustic Barrier no Jutsu. Naruto spun around once, surrounding himself with a green acidic substance in the shape of a sphere. The rocks bounced off of the barrier, and, as some of them landed, Kurenai could see that whatever his barrier was made of, it was acidic. Kurenai began to prepare her next jutsu when Naruto made his next move. As he did, Shino and Hinata dove further into the foliage, like Naruto warned them to. Caustic Barrier Conversion, Caustic Bomb no Jutsu, called out the 12-year-old boy. The barrier exploded outwards, covering nearly everything in acid. Kurenai saw only one way to avoid it by going underground. Come out! Called Naruto in a sickeningly high-pitched voice. Come out! Come out wherever you are! Doton Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu. Earth Release, Underground Decapitation no Jutsu. Suddenly, Kurenai's hands reached out of the ground and grasped Naruto by the ankles and pulled him underground so that just his head was sticking above the ground. Kurenai walked around the genin, bells jingling. She shook her head. You know nothing of subtlety or tact, do you? What do interrogation techniques have to do with fighting? Asked Naruto in a mockingly innocent tone. Shino heard his cue. He threw 8 shuriken and 5 kunai at Kurenai. That's not the only application of THTHTH thunk. The sound of 13 sharp metal objects hitting a human-sized object was heard. At first, it seemed as though the stabby implements of death had hit the jounin, but Naruto looked to see that the weapons had simply hit a log. Kurenai had used Kawarimi no Jutsu. Kurenai attacked Shino in the tree only to find that it was a Mushibunshin bug clone. The swarm of parasitic insects began moving towards Kurenai. Kurenai pulled out her can of bug spray and killed the majority of the insects. The rest fled. She then began tracking Shino to discover his location. Meanwhile, Naruto concentrated on his chakra and managed to generate some corrosive fluids from his sweat glands. The soil around him began to break down, and so he stopped emitting chemicals. He managed to get his right arm free when Hinata took his hand and helped him out. Thanks, said Naruto, making the girl blush. Where's Kurenai-sensei and Shino? Using the Byakugan, Hinata spotted them both. Kurenai-sensei is tracking a Mushibunshin and Shino is sneaking up on her. Oh. Seems she fell into that tiger trap we placed there. No wait, Kurenai-sensei used Kawarimi and now she's spotted the real Shino. They're coming back this way. Ah, thought Naruto. This changes the plan significantly. Hinata? Go hide and wait for an opportunity. I'll get our sensei off of Shino's back so you two can regroup. I have an idea. Kagebunshin. Naruto created 11 shadow clones. He and the clones hid while Hinata returned to her hiding place. Naruto also idly noticed that his hand was already healed. After Shino ran through the clearing, Kurenai jumped into the area, quickly noticing that Naruto wasn't in the ground anymore. Suddenly, Naruto and 10 of his clones dogpiled her. The final clone caught up with Shino to ask about the situation. Did you plant the bug? Asked the clone. Yes. Her genjutsu is almost nullified now that we can track her. Good. Get into position. Poof! The clone was gone. Meanwhile, Naruto discovered that Kurenai was no slouch when it came to taijutsu. It certainly wasn't her strong suite, but she was still quite skilled in martial arts. She had already dispatched 8 of the clones. The last 2 clones managed to push her back as Naruto reached into his black coat with his right hand. She dispatched the pair of clones in time to get hit in the face with a carp. A live carp. And it hurt. She was stunned. When did he get this from the river? Or was he carrying it around all morning? No, it wouldn't be alive if he did. Curious? Asked Naruto. It's called fish fu. My father invented the style. He pulled out a mackerel, which flopped around in the boy's iron grip. We keep several aquariums of fish and other water creatures in our basement. All the tanks are linked to special scrolls my father made using what little knowledge he had of seals. It functions like a sealing scroll, except it simply conjures the fish to my location. He then swung the fish at Kurenai. She dodged and backpedaled. Naruto then threw the fish at her. He reached into his coat with his left and pulled out a clownfish. She dodged that one when he threw it. He then started throwing fish two at a time. She was getting pelted by some of the fish. Bass, salmon, catfish, crawfish, crab, sunfish, boot. Wait, what? Thought Naruto. The boot hit Kurenai in the head, knocking her down. Naruto looked at the inside of his jacket in genuine puzzlement. How did that get in there? That's it, said Kurenai. Megan, Kunai-ga-cure. Demonic illusion, hidden kunai. Kurenai disappeared from Naruto's view. Shino also couldn't locate her with his own eyes. The genjutsu was so powerful, even Hinata couldn't see through it. Naruto was suddenly knocked to the ground, his forehead protector falling off. It was apparent that he had been kicked in the head. Deciding to help Naruto out, Shino used Mushio's no jutsu bug gathering no jutsu to add more insects to his swarm, and then sent them after the female bug as planned. Is that all you got? Said Naruto in a cocky tone, even though such tactics had simply gotten him a broken nose, a black eye, some flesh wounds in his legs, and a stubbed toe. He suddenly had the wind knocked out of him when Kurenai punched him in the stomach. Naruto quickly regained his breath as the jounin didn't hit anywhere near as hard as his father, much less his mother. That was weak. Sharp pain entered his shoulder as his toothbrush kunai from earlier was jammed in his left forearm, broken blade and all. Naruto screamed out. Then, Shino's bugs entered the fray, all of them trying to get at the female bug on the small of Kurenai's back. She managed to spray most of them. Assuming that their retreat earlier was a behavioral pattern, she ignored the small clusters of insects that she missed. Hinata and Shino had discussed where to place the bugs on Kurenai's body earlier that morning, before the bell test. Therefore, once all the bugs were in position, Hinata knew where Kurenai was and where most of her organs were. Hinata took this opportunity to attack. She rushed in to sever the tendons in the jounin's shoulders, but Kurenai was too fast and used Aikido to use Hinata's own momentum and weight to toss the poor girl over Naruto's head. Realizing her genjutsu was somehow now worthless, Kurenai dropped the illusion. Naruto had finally managed to pull his toothbrush out of his arm. He also managed to get all the pieces of it out by simply using another kunai to cut a huge chunk of his flesh out of his arm. Naruto focused his chakra and his wounds quickly regenerated to the point that he could now use his left arm again. Seeing Kurenai and Hinata fighting each other with taijutsu, Naruto decided to enter the fray. He made two hand seals, horse and then monkey. Caustic Fist no Jutsu. Green acidic fluids materialized around his hands and feet. Naruto rushed forward and joined the fight. Kurenai was impressed by the strange jutsu Naruto kept displaying. Meanwhile, Shino kept trying to use Mushio's no jutsu to gather more insects, but to no avail. Shino decided that most of the bugs in the area were dead and stopped trying to gather them together. Seeing a taijutsu battle, Shino opted to attack with his kunai and shuriken from a distance. As he started pulling several of the objects out of his battle pouch, Kurenai did something unexpected. She used Katan, Gakkaku no Jutsu Fire Release, Grande Fireball no Jutsu. The ball of flame hit Naruto and kept on going, right towards Shino. Shino used Kawarimi to escape. It was at this point that the alarm clock rang. Naruto ended up tied to a post. Though he had suffered serious burns, he was fine. And his clothing seemed to be fireproof as well. That was deplorable, said Kurenai. Using Naruto as a distraction might have worked in the academy, but it won't work in the real world. Now I'm going to give you three another chance. Really? Asked Naruto, interrupting his sensei. Kurenai blinked. Yes, she said hesitantly. Naruto slammed the heel of his boot into the post. Click! Twang! Kurenai was suddenly entangled in four nets. Get the bells! Commanded Naruto. Both Shino and Hinata jumped on the jounin and ripped the bells off of the woman's belt. Kurenai sat up and simply stared at Naruto dumbfoundedly. He began to laugh. He ha 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 ha. We got you! That was great! I figured I would get tied to the post, so I planned ahead and put triggers for traps on all three. If we got the bells beforehand, fine, but the plan worked almost perfectly. Here Naruto, take my bell please? No, Hinata. You keep it. I insist. And Shino, don't you dare give your bell to me either. The Aburame child stopped trying to hand Naruto his bell. I can torture Irika-sensei for another year. Pass, said Kurenai. What? Asked all three of the genin in unison. All three of you passed. It was a test to see if you could function as a team. Since the three of you worked so well together, even helping each other when I was about to overpower one of you, you managed to pass. I was going to force you three to work together a bit more and play some more mind games with you just to make you earn your rank, but the fact that you caught me using an elaborate trap has convinced me otherwise. Now would you please cut me free from these stupid nets so that I can report to the Hokage? Elsewhere, Kiba had been tied to the post with Akamaru tied to the back of it, and Kakashi was lecturing them on their performance. He then told them that he would give them one more chance after lunch and that they were not to feed Kiba or his dog. Immediately after Kakashi left, Sasuke offered to give Kiba some of his food. Sakura fed Akamaru. Suddenly, Kakashi reappeared. You have disobeyed a direct order just to help out your teammate, he said, sounding ominous and angry. Such behavior could get you in trouble with your superiors someday. Refusing to leave a teammate behind could cost you your mission. But that's the exact reason why I'm passing you three, Akamaru barked. 4. Later that day, Kurenai asked Naruto where his conjuring scroll was. Naruto informed her that the inside of his jacket was both a conjuring scroll and a sealing scroll. He explained that his father found that it didn't matter what the seal was written on, so long as it was written in black ink. Naruto also explained that the palms of his gloves were advanced sealing scrolls where he kept certain weapons for easy use, like cyanide pies. He also explained to her that he had chakra-powered joy buzzers in his gloves and that he was aware of the Kyuubi, though it feared him. He intentionally didn't mention Clarice. Team 8 went on many D-rank missions, ranging from finding the cat named Tora to hauling lumber to washing windows over the course of a few weeks. At this time, Team 8 was in the mission office to accept another mission. Let's see, said the Sandame. There's Mrs. Kurosaki's yard that needs to be weeded. Mr. Yamada wants his kids to be babysat. Oh yeah, not a mission for Team 8. There's catching that cat again. You mean Tora? Asked Naruto. Yeah, answered Iruka-sensei, who was helping manage the mission office. I'll strangle him before handing him back to his owner, that way he can't run away anymore. Another mission that shall not be offered to Team 8 ever again, said the Hokage. Guess what? Said Naruto excitedly. What? Asked the Hokage. I'm bored, the boy said in a perfectly serious tone. The Hokage remembered what happened the last time Naruto was bored. It wasn't a pretty picture. Naruto had used ox blood to write humorous messages on both sides of nearly every door in town. The smell was horrible. Kurenai also remembered that time. Shino remembered it and laughed inwardly. Hinata remembered that her door was one of the few that he didn't put blood on, though the rest of Hyuga estate was practically coated with it. Give them a C rank this time, said the Sandame to Iruka. Well, let's see, there's this one. A bridge builder from the Wave Country needs a few people to protect him and his workers from bandits during the rest of the construction. We'll take it, said Kurenai. Yeah, we'll go with that, agreed Naruto. I'm okay, said Hinata. Shino simply nodded. Alright, Tazuna, called Iruka. We have a team for you. An old man wearing a mason's clothing entered the room from a waiting room. He was balding and holding a sake bottle. This is the team? He asked. That is correct, Mr. Tazuna, replied the Hokage. They look weak, especially the short one. Suddenly, the sake bottle fell to the ground as Tazuna was tied up with ninja wire. Naruto then touched his palm and a coconut custard creme pie appeared in it. Naruto then shoved the pie into the old man's face. I'll meet you guys outside, said Naruto cheerily as he left the room. Kurenai chased after him. In the hall, Kurenai caught up to the blonde. You didn't kill him, did you? No, that was a regular pie. Even I know better than to kill the client before the mission is over. Meanwhile, Hinata was cleaning the pie off of Tazuna's face as Shino was untangling the ninja wire. A word of advice, whispered Shino into the old man's ear. Never piss off the psychopath. As they left the village, Kurenai noticed a puddle on the path as they walked. It hadn't rained in weeks and there hadn't been any cloud cover for the past few days. She knew something was up. They continued walking, Tazuna whining about the loss of his sake bottle, Shino being silent as ever, Hinata stealing glances at Naruto, and Naruto drinking out of a sake bottle. Wait, sake bottle. Why did you have to destroy my sake? Asked Tazuna, addressing Naruto. Would you like to try my drink? Offered Naruto with a sadistic grin on his face. It's some powerful stuff. Before Tazuna could answer, Kurenai interrupted. Naruto, what is in the bottle? Sulfuric acid. What's that? Asked Tazuna, as he was unknowledgeable about chemistry. Let me explain it, began Naruto. In song. Johnny was a chemist he is no more, for what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. Tazuna put together that the formula Naruto just mentioned was this sulfuric acid. So is it a poison? He asked. Naruto looked at him like he was an idiot. It's one of the most powerful acids. Naruto took another swig of the bottle. Ah, good stuff. Burns all the way down. Tazuna leaned over to Kurenai and started whispering. Why isn't he dead? It's his family's Kekkei Genkai apparently, she whispered back. They use acids and poisons as their primary weapons and consume said substances to enhance the poisons and acids their bodies produce naturally. Suddenly, a pair of Kirinin leapt out of the trees and attacked. Kurenai pulled Tazuna out of the way. Hinata ducked while cursing herself for not noticing their presence. Shino backed up while calling his insects out. Naruto? He smashed the bottle on the face of one of the enemy ninja. To be more specific, it was on Meizu, the younger of the brothers. He screamed in pain as the acid scarred him for the rest of his life. The other brother, Gozu, attempted to stab the blonde for hurting his brother. Naruto redirected the claws that Gozu was wearing so that they would only stab him in the arm. Naruto grabbed the guy's face and gave it a light tan. Zazup! Soon, both the brothers had been disarmed and tied up for questioning. Naruto insisted that he do it himself. He sent Kurenai, Hinata, and Tazuna up ahead so that they wouldn't hear the pain he was about to inflict. Shino, who always wanted to put someone to the question, stayed to help out. Naruto separated the brothers so that they couldn't see each other. But before he did, he had something to say to them. Welcome to Fire Country. I will be your inquisitor for the day. You may not think I can do much, but my father is the notorious Mr. J. At the mention of that name, both the brothers became very nervous. They had heard of this Mr. J in the bingo book, and had hoped to never get caught by the man. But now the man's son had caught them. Their imaginations took them to various states of panic. Meanwhile, Naruto decided to interrogate Meizu first. Screams of pain could be heard for quite a distance as Naruto worked on Meizu. Strangely enough, Naruto didn't ask any questions. Suddenly, Naruto stopped and came back to question Gozu. The older brother's screams of agony carried farther than his brother's. Naruto stopped again without asking any questions. Curious, Shino had to ask why. Why aren't you asking them questions? And why are you stopping just before you break them? When I break them, I'm going to have them break spectacularly. But I'm going to start questioning now. After an hour, Naruto had gotten all the information he wanted. Besides, at that time an ANBU squad had arrived to take over. The ANBU members had orders to take these two brothers to Ibiki and Joker. The information Naruto pulled out of them was useful. Apparently, the Gato Syndicate had taken over the Wave Country. Tazuna was building a bridge so that Gato wouldn't have a monopoly on trade. Gato hired the Demon Brothers, Gozu and Meizu, as well as a Jounin and another ninja, all of whom were Nukanen's missing ninja from Kiri, the hidden Mist village. Naruto relayed all this information to Kurenai, who was understandably angry at Tazuna. You endangered us by lying about what kind of mission this was, she said calmly. Even though it was calm, it was scary to hear her say it the way she did. You had it registered as a C rank, however, it happens to be an A rank mission. Why? To Naruto's perspective, Tazuna went into a long-winded pity story about how they didn't have enough money to afford to buy an A rank, and his daughter and her son were in danger, blah 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 etc. We'll still do the mission, said Kurenai, much to Tazuna's surprise and Shino's and Hinata's. It's because it's the right thing to do. Besides, you have no idea how much trouble Naruto will cause if we don't go. Naruto grinned. Kurenai was trying her hardest to keep an eye on her surroundings as they didn't know when the enemy Jounin or the other ninja would attack. She really was, but the way Naruto kept grabbing everyone's attention made detecting the presence of an enemy next to impossible. For example, he had just barely begun to sing a song. I wear my blue pajamas in the summer when it's hot, I wear my flannel nightie in the winter when it's not, but sometimes in the springtime and sometimes in the fall, I slip between the covers with nothing on at all. He waggled his eyebrows at Hinata as he sang the sixth line, causing her to faint from embarrassment. Shino was there to catch her while Naruto continued on with the chorus. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, what's it to ya? Shino finally managed to revive Hinata. Glory, glory, hallelujah. With nothing on at all. Naruto pumped his fist into the air during the last line. Hinata fainted again. Tazuna was amused. Kurenai was annoyed that her concentration had been broken yet again. And it was all Shino could do to avoid laughing out loud, or even chuckling. Zabuza, who had been hiding in a tree with his sword in the ready position to be thrown, had to pull his face out of the dirt due to the face fault he just experienced. Also, he had dislocated his right shoulder when he hit the ground, as it was the only way to prevent accidental suicide with his sword. He had a sneaking suspicion that the blonde already knew of his presence, and had done that just to cause injury before the actual fight, but he wasn't sure. By the time Zabuza had stood up, cleaned off his face, and relocated his shoulder, Shino had revived Hinata again. Zabuza threw his sword with his left arm and used Shunshin to appear in a tree that the sword would arrive at if it missed. Naruto, Shino, and Hinata dodged easily. Kurenai pushed Tazuna into the dirt as she dove for cover. Naruto said the first thing that came to mind as the sword passed over his head. "I've heard of compensation, but Zabuza face faulted again. With his face in the dirt, he was unable to catch the large weapon, and so it embedded itself into a tree about 8 meters away. Irritated, the Nuke from Kiri quickly stood up and composed himself, only to turn and find that Kurenai had finished making hand seals for a jutsu. "Megan, Kunaiga-cure." She disappeared. Zabuza stood there for a second, before he kicked to his right, hitting Kurenai in the solar plexus and dispelling her genjutsu while she was sent flying. Zabuza made a few seals while he dodged Hinata's shuriken. Kirigakure no jutsu. Hidden miss no jutsu. The area was soon covered in dense fog. Foolish of the Jounin to think that she could get to me without my notice. She didn't know that I can detect heartbeats and breaths from up to 50 meters away. "Your name is Momochi Zabuza, isn't it?" asked Naruto. "How would you know that, shorty?" Naruto growled. "My mother used to read me the bingo book to put me to sleep when I was younger. I recognize you by the lack of eyebrows." Regardless, there are 8 targets: throat, spinal column, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidney, heart. So many choices. What vital, vulnerable place shall I choose? Heh. Blah blah blah. Shino? What? Found him yet? No. Hinata? There is chakra in the mist itself. It is difficult to see through. Seems like we need something with a sense of smell. Kuchios. Suddenly, 2 separate laughing voices were heard. A pair of jackals stood next to Naruto, one on either side of him. One was wearing armor, and the other was large and bulky. "I welcome you with open arms," began Naruto. "Shinji and Yuki." "Well met, young clown," said Shinji, the armored jackal. His armor was a gleaming black. "We shall kill and laugh with you," said Yuki, the larger female jackal. A short distance away, Kurenai had her hands full with 2 Mizabunchen of Zabuza. He had obviously recovered his sword, as each of the water clones had a sword of their own. It was taking all the knowledge Kurenai had just to keep up with the 2 clones. She knew that Zabuza was trying to keep her from aiding her students, and she hoped to the kami that they would be okay. She also knew that Zabuza was stronger than her if only she could use her genjutsu. But all the ones she knew targeted the eyes first. "I got the browless freak," said Naruto. "Protect the old fart, okay Shino? Okay Hinata?" "Wakata," replied Shino. "Oh okay," stuttered Hinata. "Not going to happen," said Zabuza as he appeared in between Tazuna, Shino, and Hinata. Hinata stumbled away from Zabuza and Shino jumped away from the swordsman. Tazuna fell backwards. Just before Zabuza could do anything, Shinji bit his head off, revealing it to simply be a water clone. Suddenly, Zabuza was there with his sword sticking into Shinji's back through a small slit in between his armor plates. Another Shinji was suddenly there and it bit into Zabuza, dispelling yet another water clone. The first Shinji fell apart to reveal empty armor. "Yorubunshin no jutsu," stated the real Shinji smugly. "Armor clone no jutsu." Yuki then howled. The air in the area got colder and snow began to fall, slowly at first but with increasing speed. Soon, the ground was covered in snow. Oddly enough, the fog still permeated the area. "Yuki, Tsuga no jutsu," called out the female jackal. "Snow, tracking fang no jutsu." Yuki sank into the snow as if she were a rock dropped in a pond. As she began searching for Zabuza, Shinji and Naruto were busy blocking projectiles that were coming at Tazuna and or Hinata. Shino had gone off to find Kurenai. Suddenly, Yuki found Zabuza standing on top of a nearby pond which had somehow not frozen yet. She leapt out of the snow as if she were leaping out from behind a bush and nearly tackled the swordsman. However, Zabuza anticipated the attack and moved out of the way at the last second. Sura no jutsu, said Zabuza calmly, trapping the female jackal in a sphere of water. Water prison no jutsu. Yuki laughed. Zabuza's eyes widened as he realized the implications of her giving away her position. Before he could do anything else, he was tackled by no less than 40 of Naruto's shadow clones. Since his concentration was broken, he lost control of his Suru and his water clones. The Nuke-Nin from Kiri quickly dispelled the clones on top of him with a quick swing of his sword just in time to get clocked by the real Naruto, who landed back on the shoreline afterwards. As Zabuza attempted to regain his balance, Yuki came at him again, charging across the top of the water. Just before she was able to attack, Zabuza managed to slash her jugular. Fearing for her life, she returned to the world of the summons, taking her snow with her. Congratulations, said Shinji. You managed to scare my older sister away. Shinji, began Naruto. He's my kill. He turned to Zabuza. I'm going to take your sword from your dead hands, okay? The young Uzumaki was grinning like a maniac. Zabuza simply began making hand seals to perform a jutsu. To his surprise, Naruto mimicked his movements exactly, except the boy was still grinning. I'm going to wipe that smug grin off of your face. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Water release, Water Dragon Blast no Jutsu. Acting on instinct and what little knowledge Naruto had of chakra, he suddenly released his own version by adding the monkey seal at the end of the seals. Suetun, Caustic Ryuden no Jutsu. Water release, Caustic Dragon Blast no Jutsu. A dragon made of water rose from the pond to attack Naruto, only to be intercepted by a near-identical dragon made of a sickly green liquid. The two attacks cancelled each other out. Shino and Kurenai had returned to the group just in time to witness Naruto copy Zabuza's attack. How do you like them apples? Why, you little monkey! As Zabuza charged Naruto, the blonde quickly went through 3 seals, snake, boar, and monkey. Realizing what was going on, Shinji threw Tazuna and Hinata onto his back while Shino and Kurenai dove for cover. The jackal followed them. Naruto put his palm in the air and spun around once. Caustic Barrier no Jutsu. The green liquid surrounded the young clown, creating a barrier. Zabuza's sword came down in a vertical slash only to be stopped by the barrier. The metal of the sword was beginning to wear away as it remained in contact with the barrier. Realizing that he was just wasting a good sword, Zabuza backed off. Caustic Barrier Conversion, Caustic Bomb no Jutsu. Zabuza didn't have time to react and was hit by the blast of acid. Not only were his clothes ruined and his skin badly burned, but he was thrown backwards into a tree. Naruto landed on the branch above him and drew a kunai as Kurenai, Tazuna, Shino, Hinata, and Shinji exited from the brush. I'm going to stab your face off now, he said cheerfully. Suddenly, 2 Senbon needles flew from off to the side into Zabuza's neck, apparently killing him. As the man's body fell to the ground, a Kiranin caught it before it hit. The Kiranin was wearing a Kiri Anbu mask. Thank you for stopping him long enough for me to catch him, said the masked person. We of Kiri have been hunting this one for a long time. You're a jerk, you know that? Replied Naruto angrily. He was my kill. Sorry about that, but it was my mission to kill him. I'm going to go dispose of the body now. With that, the young Anbu left the area. You stupid jerk. You could have at least left his sword behind, shouted Naruto as he raised his fists into the air. Suddenly, Naruto didn't feel so good. He realized that he was pretty much out of chakra. He blacked out and fell towards the ground. Naruto! Called out both Kurenai and Hinata, but before the boy hit the ground, Shinji caught him. Well, that was fun, chuckled the jackal as he set Naruto down on the ground. Do tell him to call again, okay? With that, Shinji returned to the world of summons. Naruto's probably okay, mused Shino. More than likely he simply used up all of his chakra. He looked at Kurenai. How long has that kunai been in your leg? One of the Mizabunchen must have had a real kunai, replied Kurenai. She then passed out from the blood loss and sudden lack of adrenaline. Shino was there to catch her. He pulled the offending stabby object out of her leg and administered first aid. Tazuna? Help me carry Kurenai-sensei. Hinata? Go carry Naruto. Okay, she replied nervously. They arrived at Tazuna's home about 30 minutes later and laid both Kurenai and Naruto out on mats. Just as Hinata was about to place a blanket over Naruto's body, his eyes shot open. I didn't think heaven would be this beautiful, he said, acting as though he was still half asleep. Hinata fainted and fell forwards. Naruto caught her and gently laid her down where he was on the mat before. He placed the blanket on her and stood up. He turned to see Shino shaking his head at him, obviously to Naruto anyway amused. So, where are we? Tazuna's house. How long was I out? About 30 to 35 minutes. Wow. I was tired. Anyone else live here? Just Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami, and her son, Inari. What happened to Kurenai-sensei? Apparently, one of the water clones had stabbed her with a real kunai. We didn't notice until you had passed out. Naruto laughed at that. Anyway, began the blonde. What did you think of that Hunter-nin? I seriously doubt that our masked friend had killed Zabuza, else the body would have been disposed of on the spot. I agree with Shino, said Kurenai weakly as she began to sit up. More than likely, the Hunter-nin was Zabuza's accomplice, a fail-safe against him getting defeated. We will have to face the both of them when the time comes. She looked over at Hinata. I see you've been flirting with her again, Naruto. I'm sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about, replied Naruto sarcastically. Tazuna and Tsunami entered the room, smiles on their faces. We'd like to thank you for defending me against Zabuza, said the old man. He's not dead, replied Naruto. He was only mostly dead. Kurenai explained her theory to Tazuna. Are you sure you're not just being paranoid? Asked the old man. I'm sure, replied Kurenai. Hinata's awake, stated Shino. Oh good, replied Tsunami. Dinner will be ready in about half an hour. Wanna know what I just realized? Naruto asked to no one in particular. I have another chance to take that sword. You really want that thing, don't you? Asked Tazuna. Sure do. It's the perfect thing to give you a very close shave with. Everyone else sweat dropped. Perhaps we'll get to kill this Gato person as well, mused Shino. You'll die, said a young boy's voice. It was Inari, and he was standing at the door to the room. How do you know? Asked Naruto, curious as to whether the boy was a prophet or not. All who stand against Gato die. There is no point in even making the effort to resist like Grandpa is doing. You'll all die. You make a very compelling argument. Allow me a rebuttal, said Naruto. Boot to the head. Inari was sent across the room and hit the wall. He slumped down like a rag doll. Inari! Exclaimed both Tazuna and Tsunami. Oh, don't worry, said the blonde ninja in an annoyed tone. He'll live. I made sure. There was a short pause, and then Naruto snapped his fingers. That's what I forgot. Both the old man and his daughter assumed that Naruto really did kill the boy. Hinata's mind had gone blank. Kurenai was exasperated. Shino suspected a joke was on the way. I didn't bring any of my instant ramen packets with me. Face faults across the board. Naruto, began Kurenai. What made you remember that just now? I smell dinner. After dinner, Kurenai outlined a plan for them all to train, as it would take some time for Zabuza to recover enough to come after Tazuna again. She outlined that all three of the genin needed some chakra control training, so they would be learning how to climb trees without the use of their arms. The next morning they set out for training. Hinata did surprisingly well, and she was able to reach the top of her tree by noon. Kurenai sent her off to guard Tazuna while he worked on the bridge. Naruto and Shino weren't doing so well, and the blonde was doing a lot worse than his bespectacled friend. By dinner, the bug user had managed to reach the top, whereas Naruto was only 8 feet off of the ground. Hinata and Tazuna returned home from the bridge, and Kurenai, Shino, and Naruto returned from training. Naruto and Inari had another argument that ended with the smaller boy getting a black eye. Tazuna tried to pacify Naruto by telling him the story of Inari's stepfather, Kaiza. So all he does about it is cry? Asked Naruto. I guess so. Naruto gave the old man a look that screamed, your grandson is an idiot. Before anyone could stop him, Naruto ran up the stairs to Inari's room and broke down the door. You idiot! You think crying is going to bring him back? Boy, do I have news for you. Kaiza would never want to see a frown on your face, so crack a smile. That won't bring him back, but it will piss Gato off. And I can swear to you that Gato will die soon. Naruto marched down the stairs with a smile on his face. I feel better now. Inari was still in his room, a shocked expression on his face. Well, he looked as shocked as anyone could with the filling for a coconut cream pie covering his face. Yes, it was a regular pie. Sometime during all the shouting, he had dropped the picture of Kaiser he had been holding. It lay there on the ground, the glass cracked. The boy wasn't able to bring himself to cry. The next morning, Naruto set out to get the training done as soon as he could. His chakra control was still not very good, and he spent much of the day trying to run up a tree. Kurenai returned several times to check on his progress and make sure he ate. She'd leave a meal for him and return to find it had been eaten, but she never saw him cease in his training. He continued on into the night, constantly trying to use his chakra to latch onto the tree and make it to the top. Every so often, the blonde's rants about how gravity was an idiotic jerk could be heard. Eventually, morning found Naruto exhausted on the ground near the tree he had been using for training. However, the blonde was not alone. A feminine boy of the age of 14 was searching for certain medicinal herbs when he found the young ninja asleep on the ground. The feminine boy reached for the blonde as if to strangle him, but he hesitated as if he was deciding what to do. Finally, he decided to shake the blonde awake. As soon as he touched Naruto, the blonde clown was instantly awake. He immediately sat up and had a kunai to the feminine boy's neck. Blink. Don't ever touch a sleeping ninja, said the blonde. I'll have to remember that, replied the older boy. Naruto put his kunai back in his weapon's pouch. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Who are you? My name is Haku. What are you doing out here? I am collecting medicinal herbs. And I'm sorry if you're too poor to be able to sleep inside a building, but... Who said I was poor? I was training all night last night. I fell asleep only a few hours ago. Training? To become stronger, naturally. For what reason? So that I can spread smiles and laughter across the world. I'm afraid that doesn't make any sense. To you it doesn't? Don't you have any precious people you'd like to protect? Maybe. That is a much better reason to become stronger, and you'll become stronger faster that way as well. I'll take your anonymous suggestion into consideration. How is that an anonymous suggestion? I gave it to you in person, and you know my name. Why don't you have a sense of humor? What? Never mind. Well, I ought to be going, ma'am. Me too. And I'm actually a boy. Already knew that, ma'am. You simply look like a girl, blah blah blah. Unless you cut your hair, I'm going to call you ma'am. Whatever. I'll see you later. Maybe. Just maybe. The day progressed much like the day before. Naruto trained, Kurenai fed him, Hinata and Shino guarded Tazuna at the bridge, and Zabuza recovered some more. That night saw Zabuza fully recovered and ready to attack the next day. It also saw Naruto reach the top of the stupid tree. He returned to Tazuna's house, exhausted. He slept like a rock all through the night. Morning found Kurenai, Shino, Hinata, and Tazuna heading for the bridge. They decided to let Naruto sleep in, against Shino's suggestion that they wake him. Additionally, Haku and Zabuza were also heading for the bridge. Naruto awakened to the sound of Tsunami screaming to please don't kill her son or else she'll bite her own tongue off. At first, Naruto was pissed as he looked at a nearby clock to see what time it was. He instantly knew he had been left behind, but at least there was amusement somewhere nearby. Perhaps Kurenai-sensei had anticipated this. Manipulative woman. Naruto got up and silently dressed himself, and readied his weapon's pouch. He could hear Inari crying as he apparently regained consciousness. Suddenly, the boy stopped crying. Naruto could hear the sound of a kitchen drawer opening. He heard a knife being removed from the drawer. The front door opened again. Naruto looked out the window to see the boy running with a steak knife in hand. That kid has guts. You said it? I wonder if it was something I said? Evidently it was. Well, let's go have some fun. You're going to kill the Broad's kidnappers? Clearly, the QB was confused. Yeah. Wanna make something of it? No thanks. I'm good. You're learning. I'm so proud. Your sarcasm is blistering. You're welcome. With that, Naruto pursued the kidnappers while making sure that Inari didn't notice him. Waraji and Zori were bored out of their minds. Sure, they got to kill a pig on the way to kidnapping Tsunami, but then they didn't get to kill the brat. No matter. Suddenly, a rock hit Waraji in the back. Inari then demanded that his mother be set free. The swordsman turned to see that the brat had followed them and was holding a pitifully dull steak knife as a weapon. Tsunami again threatened to end her own life if they harmed her son, but Waraji quickly knocked her out before she could make good on her threat. Meanwhile, Zori began walking towards the boy, hand on his sword. Inari charged him, but before either person got within striking distance of the other, a sound like thunder echoed in the immediate area. Zori's head exploded to his right in a mess of meat, bone, brains, and blood as a heavy lead object traveled through it at incredibly high velocities. His body fell to its knees, and then fell face down, making a pool of blood and gore under him. Inari was scared as hell. Then a familiar psychotic laugh echoed out and Naruto suddenly appeared on top of Zori's corpse, a large straight metal object with a wooden handle in his hand. On the top of the object, an orange smiley face had been painted. "Say hello, Clarice," said Naruto creepily as he pulled the trigger. Waraji's head exploded backwards. His corpse similarly fell backwards when his knees went limp. "Naruto? What? Thank you?" Naruto was confused. He didn't know why Inari was thanking him. He guessed correctly that it had something to do with saving the boy's life as well as rescuing his mother. "Well, you got guts, kid. How about you go and get a lynch mob together? I'm going to the bridge now. Bye-bye." With that, Naruto disappeared. Inari was a little confused. He didn't know what a lynch mob was. He then determined that he should get the villagers together so that they all could fight as well. Naruto reloaded Clarice as he made his way to the bridge. He had used 2 slugs against the samurai, and he loaded his shotgun with a shot cartridge and another slug. He was still a little pissed that his teammates had left him behind. As he approached the bridge, he made note of the thick mist that had gathered. He also saw a dome made of ice. Naruto prepared a kunai. Hinata was worried. She was stuck inside the dome of Maku Hayasho demonic ice mirrors that Haku had put up. She was having difficulty predicting Haku's next move as he moved faster than her Byakugan could track. She had a number of Saban needles sticking through her body. She knew that Shino and Kurenai-sensei were facing off against Zabuza and having difficulty. She didn't know what to do. Experimentally, she threw a kunai at one of the gaps in the mirrors. Haku reached out of a mirror and caught it only to have his mask hit by another kunai thrown from outside the dome. Haku fell out of the mirror and was temporarily stunned. Curious as to what had happened, both Zabuza and Kurenai turned their attention towards the ice dome just in time to see Naruto land while making hand seals. "Kuchios no Jutsu." 2 laughing voices were heard. One was loud and guttural whereas the other was deep and creepy. As the smoke cleared, a giant 2-headed hyena was seen. "The bird of Hermes is our name," began the hyena's right head. Its voice was the loud and guttural one. Its empty eye sockets glowed red and orange and spouted smoke. "Eating our wings to make us tame," finished the other head. Its voice was deep and creepy, as if it were the voice of the dead. Its empty eye sockets dripped with blood and glowed a sickly purple. "They were delicious," said Naruto from the back of the bird of Hermes. Both heads laughed at Naruto's joke. "I doubt we have met before," began the left head. "My name is Pluto." "And mine is Vulcan. So, who are we to kill?" "See the guy with the big sword?" Both heads nodded. "I want you to kill him, but I want the sword intact. Have fun!" Naruto leapt off of their back and landed on the topmost ice mirror. Vulcan spat a fireball at Zabuza. The swordsman dodged. Pluto's mouth opened and many tentacles that were darker than the blackest night reached out to grasp the Nuke-Nin. Zabuza chopped through the tentacles with his sword but soon found that they almost instantly regenerated. He was able to get away from the tentacles only to have to dodge another fireball. Pluto clamped his mouth shut, cutting the tentacles off, but the tentacles linked together to make a squid-like creature that continued to go after Zabuza. Pluto then turned his head towards Shino, Kurenai, and Tazuna. "I want you 3 to get behind us, this is going to get ugly." Pluto then turned back to the battle. Zabuza was busy dodging the dark squid and Vulcan's fireballs. Pluto inhaled deeply and spat out a pile of bones. The bones arranged themselves into 3 humanoid monstrosities. Each had a spear made entirely of bone. As they attacked, Vulcan inhaled deeply and spat a mass of flame on the ground in front of him. The flame took solid shape and became 3 metal humanoid monsters. They too attacked Zabuza. Pluto began spitting bone projectiles at Zabuza whereas Vulcan went back to using his fireballs. Naruto was trying to figure out a way into the dome without exposing himself to Haku's attacks when the mirror he was standing on suddenly spun, throwing him inside. He landed at Hinata's feet. "What's a nice girl like you doing in a trap like this?" said Naruto as he pulled his face off of the floor. Hinata blushed despite the pain from the Saban needles. "Now I have two opponents," began Haku. "Which should I kill first?" "Hi, ma'am," replied Naruto. "Haven't seen you since the forest." "You knew that it was me?" "Well, duh." "Naruto-kun." "What is it, Hinata?" "This boy moves faster than my eyes can track." "Really? I guess I should speed up too." Naruto pulled his pant legs up, revealing that his shins and calves were covered in training weights. He quickly unbuckled them and threw them at two of the mirrors. When they collided with the mirrors, said sheets of ice cracked. Then the weights fell to the ground and cracked the tiles that covered the top of the bridge. Naruto then revealed that his forearms were similarly covered in weights when he slid the sleeves of his jacket up his arms. He quickly removed those weights and threw them at another pair of mirrors, eliciting a similar reaction from both the mirrors and the tiles. Haku then made an attempt to attack while causing the 4 damaged mirrors to reform. Naruto dodged and tried to punch the long-haired boy in the gut, narrowly missing. "Wow. You're still faster than me." Haku ignored him. Haku decided to try and make for another attack. Naruto narrowly missed with his counterattack. When Haku made another pass, Naruto threw a halibut at the boy, narrowly missing yet again. Hinata, however, managed to nick Haku's right arm with her jukin, paralyzing it. When Haku made another pass, Hinata tried to hit him again. She missed, but Naruto managed to give the boy a boot to the head. When the long-haired boy hit the ground, he decided to finish off the girl so that he could concentrate on Naruto. He threw a number of needles at Hinata. Naruto's eyes went wide as he wasn't able to stop the needles. He looked at the girl. "And then Naruto-kun, I love," she said just before she passed out and collapsed. Naruto turned to Haku, severe hatred and rage in his eyes. "You stupid fox," began Naruto quietly. "Give me your power. Give it to me now." Fearing Naruto's ire, Kyuubi complied. Naruto's eyes became slits and red. His nails lengthened into claws. His hair became much wilder. His canines lengthened into fangs. The whisker marks on his cheeks became darker. His mouth became a snarling, toothy grin that unsettled Haku to the core of his being. Red chakra exploded from Naruto's body as he gave a primal scream, shattering all of the ice mirrors. Naruto leapt at Haku and began to beat the boy into a bloody pulp. "This is the way we beat your face. Beat your face. Beat your face. This is the way we beat your face. For revenge this fine morning." Shino, Tazuna, and Kurenai witnessed Naruto's rage as he beat the hell out of Haku. When Haku could barely move, Naruto pulled out Clarice and pumped Haku's heart full of shot. Noticing Hinata, Kurenai ran to the girl's motionless body. Just before she was able to touch the girl, Naruto was there. "Don't touch her." Naruto was still pissed and sad. Kurenai complied with his command. Slowly, the red chakra dissipated and Naruto's body returned to normal. The blonde leaned over and kissed Hinata's pale lips. As he began to stand up, Kurenai could see tears streaming down Naruto's face. "Get those needles out of her, and be careful," commanded Naruto. "Shino, let's go kill a swordsman." As the boys went towards the fight between the Bird of Hermes and Zabuza, Kurenai pulled a needle out of Hinata's neck. Suddenly, the Hyuga girl gasped for air. She was still alive. Zabuza had finally managed to find a way to kill the dark squid thing, and had destroyed 2 of the metal monsters and all 3 of the bone creatures. The third metal creature was incapacitated, and Zabuza was attempting to keep the Bird of Hermes from creating any more monsters. Suddenly, a swarm of bugs started buzzing around the swordsman's head, biting and stinging him. He couldn't ignore them, and he realized that someone was standing behind him. Before he could react, a pair of kunai had been jabbed into each arm, forcing him to drop his sword. As it fell, Zabuza kicked it towards the Bird of Hermes. Neither Pluto nor Vulcan were able to catch the blade, and Vulcan's neck was sliced. Fearing for their life, they returned to the world of summons, taking the remains of the dark squid, the skeletons, and the metal monsters with them. "You're finished," stated Naruto emotionlessly. Suddenly, they all heard laughing coming from the unfinished end of the bridge. Everyone turned to see a gang of thugs with Gato in their midst. "Zabuza," began the crime lord, "I knew you wouldn't be able to complete your mission, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. Since everyone here is tired or dead, it wouldn't be all that hard for my men to kill you all. Additionally, I won't have to pay you if you happen to be killed in the melee. So, baby demon, what does it feel like to feel fear? Hey kid, said Zabuza. Lend me a kunai. Sure, said Naruto before stabbing the swordsman in the heart with it. Why? Asked the Nukenin. Because your ally killed my girl. Now shut up and die already. Naruto twisted the kunai as he drove it deeper. Gata laughed. Naruto then turned his anger towards the crime lord. Say hello to my little friend, yelled the blonde in an entirely too happy manner. He pulled out Clarice and shot the slug towards Gatu. The little man's head exploded, and the man behind him was hit in the heart. Both died instantly. Now you've gone and done it, yelled one of the thugs. You just killed our source of a paycheck, so we'll take our revenge out on you. Suddenly, said thug fell over, a crossbow bolt sticking out from between his eyes. Everyone turned to look at the other end of the bridge to see all of the villagers standing there with various weapons and tools. Inari was the one holding the crossbow. Good shot, complimented Naruto. Thanks, replied the young boy. The blonde turned to the thugs and touched the palm of his left hand. A pie appeared. Cage Bunshin. 20 Narutos appeared, each holding a pie. They launched the projectiles at the thugs, each pie hitting one in the face. Screams of agony were heard as the men who had been hit by a pie had their faces dissolved by a powerful acid. The remaining thugs began jumping off of the bridge and onto a boat. The boat sped away, but didn't get far before Naruto pulled a bundle of strange orange sticks out of his jacket. He pulled a tag off of the strings that were attached to the sticks, and hurled it at the boat. The sticks exploded just as they hit the deck, destroying the boat and killing everyone on board. Naruto went over to where Kurenai was crouched near Hinata. All of the Saban needles had been removed. Naruto's eyes went wide as he saw that Hinata's eyes were open and she was breathing. Hinata? Why yes, and Naruto-kun? Naruto pinched his cheek. Ow. I'm not dreaming. I'm not dreaming. You're alive. Naruto had a grin on his face, but it wasn't a creepy or scary grin, it was a smile of genuine joy. He began to jump around, obviously happy and excited. As he expressed his happiness, he collected his weaponry and his training weights. He restored said items to their proper places and went over to where Zabuza's sword lay. He hefted the weapon over his shoulder and then walked to where Hinata was, grin still on his face. He placed the sword's hilt inside his jacket, and it disappeared in a puff of smoke. He then picked the girl up and began to carry her back to Tazuna's house. After Hinata had recovered, and after the bodies or parts thereof of the dead those that could be located had been buried, Zabuza's and Haku's were side by side, the bridge had been repaired and finished. Tazuna declared that the bridge would be named the Naruto Bridge. Naruto laughed his head off when he heard that. Kurenai and her students said goodbye to the wave country, and headed for home. Naruto and Hinata were walking together, hand in hand. Hayashi was freaking out. His daughter, whom he once believed was useless, had been sent on a C-rank mission. Come to find out, it actually was an A-rank mission. Despite this, she not only survived, but she and her team were successful on their mission, even in spite the hindrance that the demon brat obviously posed. To top it off, she seemed immensely more confident in everything she did. Was she laying low before now, or did this single success cause Hinata to become prideful? Or was it something else? It was all so confusing. Well, he wasn't sure how she trained, though she seemed to spend a lot of time with her teammates and Jounin instructor. Perhaps she had been training the whole time? Hayashi wasn't sure. He had sent members of his clan to spy on them, but his spies didn't stay conscious for long. Perhaps it was that Aburame boy that kept detecting them? Whatever. It was pointless to try and spy. Little did the head of the Hyuga clan know, Shino, Naruto, and Hinata were training together and trading jutsu. Come to find out, Naruto's bloodline seemed to be transferable via simply being around him for an extended period of time. Joker had a theory. The chemicals that the Uzumakis released in slow amounts seeped into the people around them. Over a period of time, the bodies of said people began to gain some immunity to it. Eventually, their bodies adapted to produce the chakra and chemicals needed for the bloodline. What it really was, though, was the minuscule amounts of both types of Smilex that the Uzumakis released that caused the bodies of others to adapt. Hinata had begun to have a slight poisonous tint to her chakra. Same with Shino, but with the bug user, his body and the bodies of his bugs seemed to have adapted further, possibly because he had been around members of the Uzumaki clan a great deal more than Hinata had. Naruto was teaching Shino how to use this to his advantage. Shino developed the Hodorobaka no Jutsu Firefly Bomb no Jutsu, in which he could have his bugs explode using the poisonous chakra as a catalyst. A single bug exploding wouldn't do much damage, but a group of 40 bugs could sever limbs with a combined explosion, considering that the numbers of Shino's personal colony were in the hundreds of thousands. Hinata taught the Jukin to Naruto. Her Jukin was like a blunt knife. Her cousin Niji's was like a razor blade. Naruto's? Like a cinder block. Though he didn't have the control needed to do the Jukin properly, his version pumped so much poisonous chakra into his opponent's coils that they twisted unnaturally, screwing with the nervous system and generally causing havoc. Shino, who had studied chakra strings as per his clan's rite of passage, taught the theory to both Naruto and Hinata. Since his clan had fought a great deal of puppeteers in their past, they had learned how to counter a puppeteer's techniques. Part of learning the counters was learning the techniques themselves. Naruto, in his twisted way, decided to figure out how to apply the chakra strings to his version of the Jukin, though he did not reveal this to his teammates. Naruto taught Hinata how to make automations robots similar to the lawn gnomes of the Uzumaki estate, and they worked on using chakra strings in conjunction with them. Later, with Joker and Shino working on seals, Naruto summoned the three-headed jackal, Hachiman. What the dash? Hey, we've been summoned. Good evening, Hachiman. We welcome you with open arms. Well met, pup, said the center head, which had a single symbol on top of his head. Why did you summon us? Asked the right head, having 4 different symbols on his head. Hey, look! It's that clown guy. Hi! Blurted the left head, having 3 different symbols on his head. Obviously, that one was off his rocker. Joker chuckled, but kept quiet as he and Shino continued writing seals. I summoned you to make a proposition. A deal, if you will. I know that since Sandman is a bit off, and he has the banner of defense, it is hard for you to defend yourselves. Am I correct? Oh, what's that? Asked the left head as he looked at some random object. The center head raised his eyebrow at the left head. The right head decided to take care of the conversation. That is true. We have become something of a powerhouse with no defense. It is hard amongst the jackals and hyenas, as there are often fights over food and such. Ikemen and I have had to remain in the background, eating only when the others were done. Since we are a male, we also have to let the females have first pick, as is the culture of the pack. It's no fun being the top jackal when you are the bottom of the food chain. I thought so. My proposal is to seal the 3 of you into a weapon, making it stronger and you 3 less vulnerable to attack. I smell pie. Yon man, I agree with the arrangement. As do I. Very well. What are the other terms and what weapon are we being sealed into? The blonde psychopath grinned. Hinata was determined to impress Naruto. She began working on a fighting style based off of the Hakurokujuinshu 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Rather than have it be a simple attack routine like the rest of Hyuga's, she wanted it to be an entire style. Her chakra was changing. She knew that. It was becoming corrosive and poisonous, but it remained flexible and fluid, if a little sluggish. A deadly combination. She sought out the Hyuga's own resident medic Nin, Hyuga Shirsho, for supplemental training. A branch member, he didn't much like the members of the main house of the Hyuga family, but like all the branch members with the exception of a few, he had a soft spot for the Hyuga heiress, Hinata. Hinata-sama, greeted the 30-year-old medic. What can I do for you? Good afternoon, Shirsho-san. I need to step up my training. You are aware of who my teammates are, yes? Of course. The Aburame prodigy and the Uzumaki child. Well, you would know that the Aburame use their own hives of bugs to heal themselves, so Shino-san is safe from most injuries. Naruto-kun has a remarkable ability of recovery. He has no scars. Unfortunately, I do not have such defenses against bad luck. Bad luck. That is what the Hyuga often called the blind spot that plagued their bloodline. Also, Shirsho knew that Hinata did not have the skill to learn the kaiten, the spinning technique that protected against attacks that came from any direction, including the blind spot. You wish to learn medical jutsu from me? Not just that. I wish to create a new taijutsu style based off of the Jukin style's ultimate attack, the Hakurokujuinshu. I figure that incorporating chakra scalpels into the attack, I can create a much more deadly version. Truly, the Hyuga heiress was a genius. She may not be as precise or as quick with the Jukin, but to create a new style combining the ultimate attack of an existing style with a medical technique known to cause severe damage without much effort would be an extraordinary achievement. With Hinata's chakra reserves being greatly above average, this would likely be possible. Very well. But I must inform you, I will not do this as a branch member serving the main house. I will do this as a friend. Good. I wouldn't want it any other way. Oh, and I want our training to be our little secret. Of course, replied Shusho, realizing that Hinata was definitely more confident than when she had left for Wave. He knew that she would be better for it, but it begged the question, why? Wasn't the demon brat's presence detrimental to everyone? It was interesting, to say the least, but Shusho would not look into it further. He felt more honor-bound to Hinata than he did to any other main member. He would wait for signs of distress before he demanded as one of her guardians for her to be removed from her team. Naruto was spending some of his free time taunting Sakura and Kiba. He had introduced himself with a boot to Kiba's head. Akamaru was growling at Naruto when the blonde sensed something coming at him. He whirled around and caught a blunted kunai. He saw who threw it. Konohamaru. You're improving, stated the insane blonde. Learn from someone who was willing to teach me, retorted the child. Who would that be, I wonder? Me, replied Kiba. So rather than mimic the clown, you settled for the Chihuahua pup. Kiba growled in response. Hey boss, interrupted Konohamaru, drawing the Inuzuka's attention. That girl with the pink hair. The kid held his hand up and stuck out his pinky. Is she or you know? Kiba blushed. Naruto shook with barely contained laughter. Sakura growled in rage. You come back here, you little, she said just before chasing after him. Kiba chased after her to prevent her from killing the poor kid. Naruto followed simply to watch the show. Konohamaru turned to stick his tongue out at Sakura, and turned back only to run into something, knocking himself backwards. The object he ran into grunted. Hey! You little runt! That hurt. The person who was whining picked Konohamaru up by the back of his shirt. The small boy was terrified, but to his credit, he simply scowled menacingly at the hooded figure holding him against the wishes of gravity. The figure holding him was wearing a black robe and had face paint on, making him look like a kabuki actor. He had a body-sized bundle on his back wrapped in bandages. Behind this figure was a blonde girl, slightly older than he, with her hair tied into 4 small pigtails. She had a giant fan strapped to her back. Stop scowling at me. I'm going to teach you a lesson. You probably shouldn't do that, Kankuro, remarked the girl. This isn't like it was back home in Suna. Shut up, Temari. Little brats like this should show proper respect to a ninja of the sand. I'm surprised he hasn't pissed in your face yet, then, retorted Kiba, who had finally caught up. Akamaru barked as though he was agreeing with his master. Out of my way, shirt Tsuboi, before you get flattened. Suddenly, Sakura was there and she bashed Kankuro's wrist with a 2x4, forcing the kabuki enthusiast to let go of Konohamaru. Gah! Both the girl and the young child managed to get behind Kiba before the hooded boy could react. That's it! Roared Kankuro as he pulled the bundle off of his back. But before it even hit the ground, his wrist was hit with a rock, forcing him to drop the bundle. He and Temari looked up into a nearby tree to see Sasuke lounging on one of the branches, nonchalantly juggling some rocks. You should be careful, he stated, grouping all 3 rocks into one hand. This is not your home, little ant. You should be careful, replied a voice from behind Sasuke, totally devoid of emotion. Little lizards should not become too prideful. Sasuke was stunned. How did the boy get behind him? Suddenly his presence was gone. He was then standing next to Kankuro. He was shorter than the other 2, had red hair, and no eyebrows. Instead, he had the kanji for love tattooed above his left eye. His eyes also had bags under them and around them that were so dark, they might as well have been black. This boy carried a giant gourd on his back. Chigara! Exclaimed the other 2. We should go back to the hotel. In the tree, what's your name? Uchiha Sasuke. I wasn't talking to you, worm. Puzzled, Sasuke looked around. Suddenly, he noticed a weight on his head. He went to brush whatever it was off when he came in contact with a boot. Suddenly, the weight was gone as Naruto jumped down only a few feet away from Gaara. Sasuke glared at the blonde clown. Before answering Gaara, Naruto turned to Sasuke. You may want to wash your hair. I may or may not have stepped in dog crap. Just before disappearing from the tree, Sasuke's eyes widened in horror. Naruto laughed at his vanishing act. He was still chuckling when he turned back to Gaara. Name's Uzumaki Naruto. Let me be the first to welcome you to Konoha for the Chunin exams. Naruto extended his hand as if to handshake. Gaara just stared at the outstretched arm, wondering what it would take to sever that arm from the rest of the body. No? Well, how about you, Mr. Mascara? Kenkuro's eyes narrowed, but he took the proffered hand only to be zapped with a little over 1,000 volts of electricity. The hooded boy fell over, unconscious. Kankuro! Screamed Temari. Naruto fell backwards, laughing his head off, causing Konohamaru, Sakura, and Kiba to sweat drop. When he was done, Gaara spoke. I'll remember your name, Uzumaki Naruto. Temari. Take Kankuro. With that, he vanished. Temari glared at Naruto, then picked up the hooded boy and his bandaged parcel and disappeared. The whole of Konoha was in an uproar, making last-minute preparations for the Chunin exams. Ninja from villages all around the known world gathered together to take the test. Finally, the day arrived. Teammates saw the hallway with the classroom under a genjutsu. They kept walking, knowing the hallway to be under an illusion. They then arrived at the testing hall. Naruto looked around at all of the other Chunin hopefuls. Ha! He yelled while grinning. I'm going to slaughter the lot of you. Some simply dismissed him. Others glared at him. 3 walked towards him. How's it going, clown, Hinata-san, Shino-san? Asked Ino, one of the 3. Well, if it isn't the fangirl. Has your one true love arrived yet? Obviously, Ino didn't detect the sarcasm dripping from Naruto's voice. No, and I hope that big forehead girl doesn't make him late. How you doing, Muscles? Asked Naruto. Doing great, replied Shuji. I hear you guys went on an A-ranked mission. That's right, explained Shino. It started as AC, but it was bumped up to A. Shikamaru-san, how are things? Asked Hinata. As troublesome as ever, replied the lazy ninja. Our sensei doesn't train us much, so we have to take the initiative. It's a total pain. Right, retorted Naruto. Say, how about a quick game of Mumbly Peg? Only if I'm the one holding the kunai. You're no fun. Then Team Guy walked into the hall. They quietly sat down in a few seats, which was remarkable for Lee to do. Finally, Team 7 entered the hall. Get lost? Naruto asked Sasuke. Bastard, replied the Uchiha. Flattery will get you nowhere. Ino glommed Sasuke, triggering an argument with Sakura. Hey Naruto, called Kiba. I'm going to beat you to a pulp. I've been training. So have we, replied Hinata. So loud for such young ninja, said a new voice. An older boy wearing glasses approached them. He had silver hair and a Konoha forehead protector. Who are you? Demanded Sakura. My name is Yakushi Kabuto, he replied. And this is my 7th time taking these exams. Wow, said Kiba. You must be really pathetic. Actually, the exams are that difficult. As Kabuto continued his conversation, the 3 members of Team 8 looked at each other. In the eyes of all 3 was the message: there is no way this guy failed that many times. Naruto knew it because of the large chakra reserves that the other boy had. Hinata knew it because of the calculated movements that Kabuto made, revealing his insincerity. Shino could tell by the tonal fluctuations in the other boy's voice. When Kabuto pulled out his ninja info cards and explained how they worked, Naruto sniggered and broke into song. With my ninja info cards. What the heck are those? My ninja info cards. Have been chakra encoded. My ninja info cards. Ninja info cards. Mostly everyone in the exam hall was stunned. Did you just make a song out of what I just said? Asked Kabuto incredulously. Yeah. Why? Never mind. Any info on anybody you want to know? Sasuke spoke first. Rock Lee, Gaara of the Desert, and Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto raised his eyebrow at this, but said nothing. Let's see here. Rock Lee has excellent taijutsu and decent skill with the weapon as well as above-average stealth. He has no skill in ninjutsu or genjutsu. Kabuto continued by giving Lee's mission record. Gaara's stats are rather unknown. All I know is that he's never been hurt. He also gave Gaara's mission record and reiterated that the red-haired boy from the sand never got hurt. And Naruto, he's been on 58 D-rank missions and 1 A-rank. He is the son of Uzumaki Joker and Uzumaki Harley. He seems rather balanced when it comes to taijutsu and ninjutsu. His skill in genjutsu is unknown. On his last mission, he killed the demon of the mist, Zabuza, and slaughtered a gang of thugs. The various ninja who had heard of Zabuza and were listening and looked at one another in astonishment. Of course, this is only what the young Uzumaki has unknowingly shown me. Anyone else want information? I do, answered Hinata. I want to see how the card for myself compares to that of Hyuga Niji. Hinata saw that her card showed her to be at less skill and power than Niji. She began to look distraught, but then Naruto whispered something into her ear. She then realized that Kabuto didn't know what she was capable of. She silently thanked Naruto. Kabuto then mentioned how nearly every hidden village had sent genin to be tested for the rank of Chunin. Even the new village, Oto Sound. He assured the Konoha genin that the Otonin probably weren't all that strong. The 3 Otonin then attacked Kabuto. Though the boy dodged, his glasses still cracked and he became violently ill. Then a voice at the front of the room yelled at them for fighting. It was Marino Ibiki. This part of the test is not about combat. Hi, Uncle Ibiki, called Naruto from the back of the room. Ibiki laughed. I see my psychotic nephew is participating in the exams. The interrogation specialist then explained the rules for the first test. After all the genin were seated, the test began. Many people had no trouble gathering the needed information to fill out the answers, though many more failed their teams due to carelessness. Naruto had done no information gathering. The first thing he did when he sat down was remove his weights under the desk and stash them under his chair for the time being. Then he wrote a whole bunch of nonsense, and drew some pictures on his test. When there was only 20 minutes to go, Naruto was ready to make his move. He pulled out a flashbang from his weapons pouch, pulled the pin and set it down on his boot. He then kicked it into the air while pointing at it and yelling, "What the hell is that?" Quite literally everyone's attention had been focused on the strange cylinder when it exploded into a brilliant, blinding light and a deafening sound. Naruto, who was ready for it, covered his eyes right when it went off. He moved quickly, switching someone's test paper with his own. Within 10 seconds he was back at his seat, his new test paper bearing his name. He also managed to put his weights back on. 5 seconds later, everyone had finally managed to recover from the distraction. Since neither Ibiki nor any of the Chunin examiners could find anything out of order, they decided to let it go. Ibiki had a rough idea of what happened, but that was only because he personally knew Naruto. He wasn't about to dock points for that. After one of the genin stupidly started demanding an explanation as to what happened to his testing paper, Ibiki finally asked the 10th question. If anyone failed the 10th question, they and their teammates would never be allowed to advance to the rank of Chunin. Any who wished to opt out was allowed to do so, failing their teammates. Ibiki thought that he had tormented the genin quite enough. All of you who have stayed, you pass. What? Screamed out several of them. All of you who remain have passed the first part of the exam. It's quite simple. The information gathering exercise was to weed out those who were far too obvious in their attempts to spy. Unfortunately, I do believe that my nephew found a loophole in the system. Ibiki paused while Naruto laughed. Regardless, the ones who were left at the end were then given a choice: accept a mission with the possibility of death or back down and not get paid. Chunin, as squad leaders, are expected to make these decisions. All who left before I ask the final question will be allowed to compete again in 6 months, but the rest of you advance. Now, the next proctor for the exams is... Glass shattered, interrupting Ibiki. A woman jumped through the broken window, for kunai flew out, a banner was pulled up, and the woman began a speech. I am the sexy Kunoichi Mitarashi Anko, proctor for the second part of the Chunin exams. Auntie Anko! Oh, hello Naruto. Anyway, you are all to meet me just outside of training ground 44 in 30 minutes, or your team automatically fails. Move it, maggots! Hear that? We're all going to be flies when we grow up, exclaimed Naruto. You would all make for interesting etymological specimens, muttered Shino, causing Naruto to crack up. Boys, retorted Hinata, stealing the thought out of the minds of every female present. Training ground number 44 aka the Forest of Death, A-class secret training ground, danger level, high mortality rate, high survival rate, low chosen site for part 2 of the Chunin exams, yes Anko's most favorite place in the whole world, very yes location, near the Uzumaki estate formerly known as training ground number 45. Likelihood of any of this information having any significance to this story: 67%. You have to sign these waivers if you are going to continue. This next part will be a survival exam, and it will cut the number of teams down by at least half. At least half of those teams will be disqualified simply because at least one of their team members will be dead. Now there are 2 different scrolls. Some teams will be given the Heaven Scrolls, and the others will receive the Earth Scrolls. Your objective is to get to the tower in the center of the Forest of Death with at least one of each scroll, both of which must remain unopened. You have 5 days from the start to the finish. Any questions? One genin dumbly raised his hand. Is killing allowed? With a goodly amount of killer intent, Anko stared him down. Is the sky blue? Naruto-san, Shino said, gaining the clown's attention. What is our plan for this? You two set up traps around the tower. Using the various underground routes that my family has made around here in secret, I'm going hunting. Oh, here's a map of those routes. Both of you should memorize it well. Shino and Hinata stared at the paper for several minutes. I have it committed to memory, said the Aburame. I also have the map memorized, stated the Hyuga heiress. Good. Electricity crackled in his hands and the map burst into flame. Use those routes to your advantage. We'll meet up at Tunnel 13 in 3 days. Hi, replied Hinata. Wakata, replied Shino. Naruto collected their Earth Scroll from Anko before the exam began. While Team 7 was busy dealing with Orochimaru, Naruto was rushing through the trees. He found a team from Kyumo discussing plans near one of the exits to his extensive tunnel network. He quickly entered the tunnel from a different entrance, and silently exited behind one of the genin. He was enshrouded by natural shadows. He used his version of the Jukin to disable the poor sap's arms before he had a chance to react. As Naruto pulled his hands away from his victim's shoulders, he attached chakra strings to them. What the Cuminan's teammates saw was the poor boy began strangling himself. Hey, doesn't he have the scroll? Yeah, he does. Why is he choking himself? Scroll, huh? Naruto blatantly left his cover, making a sneaky tiptoeing motion to get back to his victim. He reached the boy and pulled a scroll out of the Cuminan's weapons pouch. It was the Heaven Scroll. So they were right, he whispered quite loudly. He did have the scroll. He then snuck away in the same manner. The two Cuminans shared a look before attempting to rush the blonde, only to have their choking teammates suddenly let go and grasp the both of them by the necks. I'm sorry, he gasped. I have no control over my arms. All he could do was watch as he strangled his teammates to death before his hands returned to his own neck. One team from Kusa Grass unwittingly fell into one of the traps that Shino and Hinata had set up. They were carrying both scrolls. Shino and Hinata were ecstatic about the fact that they had passed their team by themselves. They just hoped that Naruto wouldn't get too carried away in his merrymaking. Kiba managed to kill the snake that had tried to eat him with his Tsuga-piercing fang only to be attacked by a second one. Being already pissed, the Inuzuka boy Tsuga the second serpent, sending it back to the realm of summons, rather than offing it. He rushed back to his teammates, determined to help them. Especially Sakura-chan. Unfortunately for a team from AIM, Naruto had found them and summoned the Jackal Majabake, a master illusionist and a proficient shapeshifter. Majabake, having an extremely sick sense of humor, caused Naruto to laugh and sing along to her illusion song that she had gotten the Rain Ninja stuck in. The genjutsu went something like this. You can scream, you can cry, having to fight for your life, see that girl, watch her scream. Stab at the sausage meat. Friday night and morale is low, looking out, but no place to go. Where they play the right game, going on killing, you run from the bloody gore scene, anybody could be that guy. His face is gone, slashed with a knife, with a bit of skull bashing, everything is gone, I'm in the mood for a bath, and when I get the blood. You are the sausage meat, young and sweet, only screaming ee sausage meat, feel the beat from the bludgeoning, you can scream, you can cry, having to fight for your life, see that boy, watch him scream. Stab at the sausage meat. You're a loser, you die tonight. Leave you burning and then your ash, looking out for another, anyone will do, I'm in the mood for a bath, and when I get the blood. You are the sausage meat, young and sweet, only screaming ee sausage meat, feel the beat from the bludgeoning, you can scream, you can cry, having to fight for your life, see that wimp, watch him scream. Stab at the sausage meat. And with that, the last corpse fell down dead. Naruto cracked up. Thank you, Naruto managed to gasp between bouts of laughter. You're welcome, darlin' clown pup. Do call again. And with a puff of smoke, she was gone. Naruto pilfered another heaven scroll from his latest victims. Of course, Anko rushed into the forest of death when she saw the 3 genin that had their faces melted off. Orochimaru's work, no doubt. She had to kill him for leaving her behind. She had to kill him for ruining her life, for making her a monster in the eyes of the villagers. She wanted revenge so badly. Too bad that Orochimaru knew how to push all of her buttons. But there was some hope. She was being followed. She attempted to use her suicidal jutsu, Shijisusi no Jutsu Twin Snake's Mutual Death no Jutsu, on him only to have his body be replaced with a mud clone. A mud clone? Oh, come now, Anko-chan. My own jutsu against me? You must really hate me. You wound me, right here. Of course, he said that in such a mocking tone as he pointed towards his heart. It really got Anko's blood boiling. But then Orochimaru leapt back. Had he moved an instant later, he would have been skewered by the live marlin that was stuck in the tree branch he had been standing on. Genuinely surprised, both snake-based ninja looked towards the thrower based on the trajectory that the squirming swordfish was stuck in its position. They saw a woman dressed in a jester costume of a black and red and white pattern. Around her waist was a hitayate for Konoha. There were also kunai and weapons pouches on her thighs. On her face was a psychotic grin. In her eyes, battle lust with a hint of intelligence. Orochimaru was confused. Who was this Kunoichi? Why was she dressed much like a clown? Why did she throw a fish at him? In fact, where had she kept the fish? Anko, dearie, is this that Orochi man you were talking about earlier? Why yes, stuttered the snake Kunoichi. The woman smirked. She made a cross-shaped seal with her fingers. Kagebunshin. There were 42 clown women at that time. They then attacked, throwing kunai, shuriken, and live fish at the snake man. He managed to dodge all of the projectiles and dispel most of the shadow clones before he got blindsided. The original clown woman had managed to hit him in the back with a gigantic mallet that she seemed to pull from somewhere behind her back. Orochimaru laughed as he landed. He made several hand seals, planning on using the second curse seal implanting jutsu that he was able to perform that month. As his neck elongated, so did his canines. Unfortunately for the cold-hearted snake, the clown made some hand seals of her own, put her right arm into the air, and pivoted on her heel. Caustic barrier no jutsu. Needless to say, the snake man got a mouth full of acid. That hurt like hell. Then, Orochimaru noticed that Anko was taking cover. Caustic barrier conversion, caustic bomb no jutsu. Second face full of acid in as many minutes. He was going to retaliate, when the clown gave him a boot to the head, sending him towards a tree which he dissolved into. He stuck his mutilated face out of the tree to say the following: "Don't stop the exams or else I will kill all of the genin for the next 5 decades. He was gone before a number of Saban embedded themselves into the tree in the place where he was in the shape of a smiley face. Harley? Asked Anko. Harley was panting. Phew! What a workout! A team from IWA were Naruto's next set of victims. Odd that they called him the Yellow Flash Reborn as he quickly dispatched them. The female died via an acid pie to the face. One of the males was twisted around into a pretzel shape. The other male was pumped full of Type 2 Smilex. He died laughing about how the Yellow Flash had returned for revenge in the form of a laughing fox. Naruto liked the sound of that. Laughing fox certainly had a ring to it. The pretzel genin happened to have an earth scroll. Naruto laughed once he met up with Shino and Hinata. They had passed the exam 3 times over. They headed for the tower. Once they exited the tunnels as close as they could get to the tower, Naruto noticed something and threw a kunai at it. It was a giant millipede. Naruto started eating its corpse along the way to the tower in order to gain the strength of its venom. Considering that neither Shino nor Hinata had enough of the Uzumaki bloodline to be immune to the venom, they didn't eat any of it. All things considered, Kiba knew that his team should be dead. They faced Orochimaru, the team from Oto, and still had to get another scroll. Thankfully Kabuto had helped them out. And then they survived that team from AIM due to the combined talents of Kabuto and Kiba. That was no easy walk in the park. But they barely made it and passed the exam. This final part of the exam will be done tournament style, stated Anko. And I will not be the one in charge. Thank you, my dear serpent, said a familiar voice with a rather sarcastic drawl. The owner of the voice entered the room. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Uzumaki Joker, known as the illustrious Mr. J in some circles. Some of the genin, especially the ones from Oto, began to sweat. I will be the proctor for this final stretch of the exams. As expected, there are far too many of you, so we will have to eliminate some of you. But before we begin, any of you who do not feel up to fighting may turn their tails and leave. Any takers? The Hokage smacked his head. He just knew that Joker would do that, despite the fact that he had expressly forbade him from making it seem like an honorable exit was a wimp's way out. Oh well. Kabuto raised his hand and asked to leave. He said that his chakra was all gone, which Naruto, Joker, Hinata, Shino, and Kiba were pretty sure was a lie, and said that he wished to give up rather than be killed. What a disappointment, said Joker. Well, we should begin the elimination rounds. Now, there are certain rules that must be obeyed, began Joker. There are almost no rules. You win if you incapacitate or kill your opponent, or if your opponent forfeits like a pansy. If I determine that someone is incapacitated, I'll jump in and stop the match, so feel free to let loose. And so, without further ado, the first match will be between what? When the screen that would normally display who was facing who, there was a large picture displayed instead. Earlier that morning, Naruto had sent 3 shadow clones of himself with a digital camera. One came back with said camera. The picture was of Niji, wearing a biker's jacket and really tight leather pants complete with bondage straps, holding hands with Sasuke, wearing chaps, moccasins, and a headband with a feather sticking out. The both of them seemed to be caught in the act of entering a certain building. The building had a sign out that read The Flaming Dog, and was reputed to be a popular gay bar. Niji, upon seeing this, had a look of total disgust on his face. That is not what I meant by flames of youth, thought Guy. But I can't tell him how to live his life. Didn't I see Naruto send some clones out this morning? Thought both Lee and Tenten. Sasuke practically squealed, but upon realizing where he was, he managed, EW. This caused both of his fangirls to look at him in a new light. Sakura edged a little bit closer to Kiba while Ino simply edged further away from the Uchiha. Speaking of Kiba, who was rather homophobic, he shuddered in fear of his teammate. I definitely didn't teach him that, thought Kakashi. Kurenai and Shino recognized the picture as one of Naruto's pranks, and it was all they could do to contain their mirth. Shikamaru and Shuji were also having trouble containing their laughter. Hinata giggled at the embarrassment that her cousin was receiving. Naruto didn't bother holding in his laughter once he saw everyone's reactions. The team from Oto was oddly silent, though their sensei was grinning from ear to ear. The 2 teammates of Kabuto were rather stoic, though anyone with a critical eye could see that they shuddered ever so slightly with revulsion. The Sand siblings had their own reactions. Kankuro and Temari laughed, and Gaara snorted. But with disgust or mirth no one knew, nor did they dare ask. Baki, their sensei, merely shook his head. The Hokage took one look at the screen and said something that made Joker, Ibiki, and Anko laugh. Kids these days. Alright, we've had our fun, began the Joker. Fix the screen. The screen shut off, then powered on again, displaying Akato Yoroi vs Aburame Shino. Alright. The rest of you should go up on those railings to wait your turns. Shino stood at one side of the arena and Yoroi stood at the other. You're of the Aburame, correct? Yeah. You and your chakra-leeching bugs have nothing against me, really. I absorb chakra. Any you send at me will be killed in seconds. I agree. But they won't be the only ones dead. Boys, began Joker. Sorry to interrupt, but your match starts now. Begin. Yoroi charged quickly, but he was blocked by a wall of bugs. True to what he said before, the bugs dropped like flies, pun intended, when they came in contact with him. You're going to lose your entire hive, stated Yoroi. No, replied Shino. Just a third. The bugs around Yoroi began to glow. What the? Hodorubaka no Jutsu. All of the bugs surrounding Yoroi exploded, ripping his body to shreds and killing him. His skull flew through the air and Joker caught it. Hey Yoroi? Are you able to fight? The clown asked the skull. Using his thumb, he made the skull move its mouth. No. No? Well, that makes the winner be Aburame Shino. Joker then crushed the skull with his bare hands. Next. Kimuta Dosu vs Tenten, read the scoreboard. Tenten started off by throwing various weapons at Dosu, but the Otonin dodged every single one while making his way closer and closer to the girl. She tried to back up while throwing things at him, but he was faster. Normally, she would have been able to skewer the boy 30 times over, but she unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view, didn't grow up in a hidden village run by a man obsessed with strength. Dosu was faster than Tenten and had little trouble in dodging her projectiles. She managed to barely dodge Dosu's punch, but the sound waves coming off of his arm caused the girl to throw up. She forfeited at that point. Next. Abumi Zaka vs Temari. Zaka was worried, and that was an understatement. He knew that Temari was a wind mistress from the sand. That rank was only given to their best wind users. Hence why the country was called Wind Country. Also, Zaka was injured pretty badly, both of his arms had been dislocated by the Uchiha. He didn't see any way for him to win. Begin, said Joker. I forfeit, replied Zaku. Was, countered the clown. Why? Asked Tamari. Because I'm injured, and when it comes down to it, my wind jutsu will be inferior to yours. Orochimaru, who was disguised as the Oto Genin's instructor, decided Zaku would die rather painfully. How boring. Next. Nara Shikamaru vs. Tsurugi Misumi. If my jutsu gets a hold of you, you are finished, declared Misumi. Ironic. My jutsu works the same way, responded Shikamaru. Enough banter. Begin. Faster than the lazy boy could react, Shikamaru found himself encircled by Misumi. See? Began the ninja wearing sunglasses. My body has been modified so that I can stretch myself out and capture opponents or fit into any space. Give up or I break your neck. Troublesome, commented the lazy boy. Suddenly, Misumi let go and stood in the exact same stance as Shikamaru. What the hell? Seems my jutsu overrides yours. My Kageme no jutsu will force you to do everything I am. And I can tell that you don't have enough chakra to resist my jutsu. Shadow possession no jutsu. Shikamaru turned around. So did Misumi. Shikamaru walked towards the wall. So did Misumi. Shikamaru mimed banging his head on the wall. So did Misumi, sort of. Misumi actually banged his head against the wall so hard that both wall and skull cracked. Shikamaru released the unconscious Misumi. Winner! The Nara Kid! Next. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Yamanaka Ino. Give up, muttered Sasuke to the blonde. Ino wasn't stupid. She knew that Sasuke was much faster than her, making her clan jutsu rather useless. He was more apt in taijutsu than her. His weapon skills were much better than hers. Her only resort was genjutsu, which she had no skill in just yet. Begin. Uzumaki-san? What is it? The clown was curious as to what the blonde was going to ask for. I would like to forfeit. I stand no chance against Sasuke right now. Joker cocked his head. His immediate impulse would be to hurl insults at her, but she was right. She was outclassed. So, instead of insult her directly, he decided to insult her by means of stating facts. Very well. Next time, don't bother to enter the exams unless you have a decent skill set with a good amount of power. Next. As Ino left the ring for the railing, Kakashi took Sasuke to a containment room to seal up his curse seal acquired from Orochimaru's attack. Orochimaru followed just to mess with Kakashi's head. Akimichi Chuji vs. Tsuchi Kin. Kin threw a pair of samban at Chuji, but the larger boy simply dodged. He heard the bells attached to the two samban jingle. Thinking it was a way for her to make him confused about whether to dodge or not, he prepared himself, only to hear the bells again. There were strings running from the bells to Kin's hand. He realized that it was a genjutsu trap based on the bells, so he decided to do his own thing. Rather than just use his Nikuden Sasha human meat tank jutsu, he opted instead for a ranged attack his father taught him. Futon Daijepa no Jutsu. Wind release, big belch no jutsu. Chuji belched out a ball of compressed air straight at Kin. She barely managed to dodge, only for her to be hit with a palm burst from the large boy, knocking her out. Oh, and the Daijepa caused a crater in the wall from the impact. Kakashi returned just in time to witness the end of the match. Joker laughed at the loud and boisterous jutsu for a little bit. Then he said, next. Gaara vs. Rock Lee. Author's note: do I really need to go over the fight? After Lee finally lost to Gaara, Naruto was a little disappointed. Lee, someone else who was getting over a prejudice against him in this case, a prejudice related to his handicap, nearly beat the Jinchuriki for the Ichibi one-tail but instead had lost. But the fight had given Naruto some ideas on how to beat Gaara. Most interesting. There seems to be potential in some of you slackers. Next. Kankuro vs. Harino Sakura. Now we'll get to finish our business from earlier, stated the kabuki enthusiast. Sakura swallowed nervously. She was worried what her opponent could do. Certainly, from all those times she and Kiba had trained together, she was fairly strong, but she lacked a great deal of skill and power because Kiba wasn't all that great of a teacher. His older sister, Hana, was better, but she was usually away on missions anyway. Now she wished that she had trained more instead of pining after Sasuke, especially since the Uchiha brat's claim of wanting to renew his clan seemed to be nothing more than a lie. But she was determined to at least give a show so that Joker wouldn't have as much of an excuse to insult her outright. She pulled a scroll out of her weapon's pouch as Kankuro removed his rather large bundle from his back. Begin! As Kankuro quickly pulled the bandaging off of his parcel, Sakura bit her thumb and slid her thumb over the scroll, summoning a pair of Nikoti, or cat's claws, which she quickly put on her hands. Kankuro's bundle was revealed to be a puppet, which he sent after Sakura, whom tried to go around it and go for Kankuro. But the puppet was too fast, and it had butted her, sending her reeling. Just before Kankuro could finish off Sakura, he found a kunai to his throat. Joker smiled. Well, I do think she's rather incapacitated. You win, she loses. Call your doll off. Kankuro grumbled about it being a puppet while ignoring Naruto's catcalls about how the kabuki enthusiast was destined to be a child stalker when he grew up. Still, the cosmetic-covered ninja recalled his puppet and Joker removed the kunai. Next. Hyuga Niji vs. Hyuga Hinata. You are destined to lose, Niji declared. I'm not as weak as you remember, Niji Nizan, replied Hinata. What is with all the talking? Begin already. I can perceive your failure. You are not as without confidence as you used to be? Hinata replied by pulling a scroll out. What are you going to do? Even with your confidence, you won't be able to beat me. I am much stronger than you. She unrolled the scroll, bit her thumb, and slid it across the length of the parchment. 4 puppet-like devices came out. Most foreigners there were amazed that Konoha had puppet users as well, but only a handful knew what the puppets actually were. Still, Kankuro gained a healthy respect for the girl, able to conduct 4 puppets at once. Puppets won't save you, my dear cousin. Give up. Niji Nizan, shut the hell up. At first, Niji was shocked by Hinata's attitude and her use of a curse word, but he quickly got over it and began to charge. Hinata used chakra strings to activate all 4 of the automations which identified Niji as their target and attacked him. Knowing that his Juken would be ineffective against the puppets, he used the kunai to block various bladed weaponry and dodged like mad. Hinata was impressed with his speed, but she augmented the robot's movements with her chakra strings. Niji accidentally got his kunai stuck in the face of one of the puppets, which surprisingly caused the head to explode and it to fall over. Hinata muttered something about bad luck and turned the other 3 off. She then charged at Niji. Everyone who thought she was using puppets was startled by the explosion of one of them. Perhaps they weren't puppets after all? Niji felt like he was in his element now that the puppets were inactive, and they had moved on to taijutsu. Hinata wasn't using the clan style, but a bastardized version of it, and Niji was confident that he would win. He disabled her Tenketsu chakra points in her left arm to show her how ineffectual her style was when she stabbed his arm with her finger, and it went through to the bone and cracked it. Though I still use the Juken, Niji Nizan, I also use chakra scalpels. You may have disabled one of my arms, but I disabled one of yours. While you have concentrated on the clan style, I have branched out into puppetry and medical skills. Like I said, I am stronger than you think I am. In response, Niji took the opportunity to strike her with a Juken to the stomach, causing Hinata